Have you ever wondered what would happen if the quirkless hero Deku possessed a power that could rival even All Might? A power that shatters the limits of the human body at a devastating cost. Prepare for a world where the 8 gates of death collide with the heart of a true hero.
Welcome, Legends, to Chronos Recom. I wrote this story myself, so if you have any suggestions or what-ifs you want to see, drop it in the comments below. Also, just wanted to let you know I've got a Patreon set up now for anyone who wants to support the channel directly. You can get early access to stories, submit direct fan requests, and get exclusive content. It's totally optional, but if you want to help keep these stories coming, check it out. Links in the description. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Let's dive into this story.
Once upon a time, in a world where 80% of humanity possessed extraordinary abilities called quirks, there lived a boy who would prove that the remaining 20% could become something far greater than anyone imagined. Izuku Midoriya sat in the sterile doctor's office, his small legs dangling from the examination chair. He was 4 years old, and today was supposed to be the day he discovered what kind of hero he would become. His mother, Inko, sat beside him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The doctor, an elderly man with a perpetual frown, looked at the x-rays on his screen and sighed. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Midoriya. Your son has 2 joints in his pinky toe. He's part of the 20% without a quirk. He's quirkless." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Inko's breath caught in her throat. Are you certain?" "Completely certain. I'm very sorry." Izuku sat perfectly still. His mother expected tears. The doctor expected devastation. Society expected him to crumble, to accept his place at the bottom of the world's hierarchy. Instead, something ignited behind those emerald eyes, his small hands clenched into fists on his lap, his jaw set with determination that seemed impossible for a 4-year-old. When he looked up, there were no tears, only an inferno of resolve burning in his gaze. "Mom," he said, his voice steady and clear, "quirks don't make heroes. Heroes make themselves." Inko stared at her son, shocked by the conviction in his young voice. On the car ride home, Izuku pressed his forehead against the window, watching the city pass by. Heroes flew through the air, using their quirks to patrol the streets. His classmates would develop their powers soon. Bakugo already had his explosion quirk and wouldn't stop bragging about it. But Izuku wasn't crying. He wasn't breaking. He was planning. That night, alone in his room, Izuku stood before his mirror. His All Might posters covered the walls, but he wasn't looking at them. He was looking at himself, at a quirkless boy who refused to accept limitations. "I will become a hero," he declared to his reflection. "Not because of some genetic lottery, not because I was born special. I'll become a hero because I'll work harder than anyone else. I'll train until my body breaks, and then train more. I'll prove that willpower, dedication, and hard work are greater than any quirk." His eyes burned with determination so fierce it seemed to light up the room. "I'll show them all." Over the next year, Izuku threw himself into training with obsessive dedication. While other children played, he ran. While they watched television, he did push-ups and sit-ups until his muscles screamed. While they slept comfortably, he studied hero fights. Analyzing techniques and strategies, he was 5 years old and already training like a professional athlete. His mother worried, but couldn't stop him. The fire in her son's eyes was too intense, too pure. She saw that trying to discourage him would only make him train harder, so she supported him the best she could, ensuring he ate properly and didn't injure himself. Izuku discovered Dagobah Beach, a stretch of coastline that had become an illegal dumping ground. Mountains of trash covered the sand, making it the perfect place to train without anyone bothering him. The other kids avoided it. Adults ignored it. For Izuku, it was paradise. He ran along the beach every morning before school, pushing his small body to its limits. He lifted debris, practicing his strength. He dodged between rusted car frames, working on his agility. He was methodical, analytical, treating his body like a machine that needed to be optimized. It was during one of these training sessions that his life changed forever. Izuku was practicing his punches against a tire, his small fists already wrapped in makeshift bandages. Sweat poured down his face. His muscles ached. He'd been at it for 2 hours straight, and the sun was rising higher in the sky. Yosh! Such magnificent spirit! Izuku spun around, dropping into a defensive stance he'd learned from watching hero videos. An old man stood at the edge of the beach, watching him with tears streaming down his face. He was an unusual figure, wearing a strange green outfit that looked like a jumpsuit, with incredibly thick, distinctive eyebrows and a bowl-cut hairstyle. Despite his age, his posture was perfect, and there was something about the way he stood that suggested immense power. "Who are you?" Izuku asked, not lowering his guard. The old man walked closer, and Izuku noticed he moved with a grace that seemed impossible for someone his age. Each step was precise, controlled, purposeful. "My name is Might Guy," the man said, wiping his tears with his sleeve. "And I have been watching you train, young one. Tell me, what drives you to push yourself so hard at such a young age?" Izuku hesitated, studying the stranger. There was something trustworthy about him, something genuine in his tear-filled eyes. "I'm going to be a hero." "Are you not in training at a hero academy?" "I'm only 5, and I'm quirkless." Izuku lifted his chin defiantly. "But that doesn't matter. Quirks don't make heroes. Hard work does. Dedication does. I'll prove everyone wrong through sheer effort alone." Might Guy's eyes widened and more tears flowed down his cheeks. He dropped to his knees, overwhelmed by emotion. "Such beautiful words, such passionate determination. You remind me of myself, young Izuku Midoriya." "How do you know my name?" "I have been observing you for several days now. Your training, your spirit, your unwavering dedication, it moved me to tears." Guy stood up, striking a dramatic pose with his thumb raised. "Tell me, young Midoriya, do you know what I am?" Izuku shook his head. "I too am quirkless. I possess no special powers, no genetic advantages, no supernatural abilities." Guy's expression became serious, his voice dropping to a powerful intensity. "But I have mastered techniques that surpass the comprehension of most heroes in this world. Through hard work, dedication, and the power of youth, I have achieved strength that rivals quirk users." Izuku's eyes widened. You're quirkless? And you're that strong?" "Indeed. I am a master of taijutsu, the art of hand-to-hand combat perfected beyond normal human limits. And I possess knowledge of a technique called the 8 Inner Gates, a method that can transform a quirkless individual into a force of nature that can shake the very foundations of the earth." The boy's heart pounded in his chest. This was what he'd been searching for, proof that being quirkless didn't mean being powerless. "Will you teach me?" Izuku asked, his voice filled with desperate hope. Guy smiled, fresh tears rolling down his cheeks. "I will do more than teach you, young Midoriya. I will make you my successor. I will pass on every technique, every principle, every lesson I have learned. But I must warn you, the path will be brutal. The training will push you beyond your limits. You will bleed, you will cry, you will want to quit." "I won't quit," Izuku said immediately. "Never." "Then we begin tomorrow at dawn. From this day forward, I am your master, and you are my student. Together, we will prove to this world that the flames of youth burn brighter than any quirk." Guy extended his hand. Izuku took it without hesitation. The training began before sunrise the next morning. Izuku arrived at Dagobah Beach in the darkness, finding Guy already there, performing one-handed handstand push-ups on a piece of driftwood. "You are on time! Excellent!" Guy flipped to his feet in a graceful motion. "Today, we begin with the fundamentals. You must build a foundation before we construct the temple of your strength." That first session was agony. Guy taught Izuku the basic stances of the strong fist style, the fundamental taijutsu form that focused on external damage and overwhelming power. Izuku held positions until his legs trembled and gave out. He threw punches until his arms felt like lead. He performed kicks until he could barely stand. "Again!" Guy would shout, demonstrating the technique with perfect form. "Your stance is too wide. Your fist angle is wrong. Again!" Izuku never complained, never argued. He simply absorbed every correction and tried again. After 3 hours, when Izuku finally collapsed from exhaustion, Guy knelt beside him with a gentle smile. "You did well today, my student. Tomorrow we will push further." This is the way of the strong fist. We build strength through repetition, through dedication, through the power of youth. As months passed, Izuku's body began to transform. His movements became sharper, more precise. His strikes carried real power. Guy introduced him to his first real technique, the dynamic entry, a devastating jumping kick that could end a fight before it began. The dynamic entry is not merely an attack, Guy explained, demonstrating the technique by destroying a rusted car with a single kick. It is a statement. It announces your arrival and breaks your enemy's spirit before the battle truly begins. Watch closely. Izuku practiced the technique thousands of times, jumping and kicking until the motion became second nature. Guy taught him to read the battlefield, to time his attacks perfectly, to put his entire body weight and momentum behind the strike. By age 6, Izuku could perform the dynamic entry well enough to demolish concrete blocks. Guy introduced weighted training gear when Izuku turned 7. The weights were custom-made, designed to restrict movement without causing injury. They started light, just a few kilograms distributed across his body, but increased steadily as Izuku grew stronger. These weights will become part of you, Guy explained as he strapped them onto his student. You will wear them always. When you train, when you eat, when you sleep, they will make every action harder, but when you remove them, you will move faster than the eye can follow. Izuku wore the weights constantly, exactly as instructed. His normal walking pace became a struggle. Simple tasks required tremendous effort, but he never complained. He understood that this temporary difficulty would yield permanent advantages. At age 8, Guy began teaching him the leaf whirlwind techniques, a series of devastating spinning kicks that could overwhelm opponents with sheer speed and power. There was the basic leaf whirlwind, a rapid combination of kicks. The leaf great whirlwind, a more powerful version. The leaf rising wind, an upward striking variant. Izuku practiced these techniques until his legs became weapons of mass destruction. Guy would throw objects at him, rocks, pieces of metal, chunks of concrete, and Izuku would destroy them midair with perfectly executed kicks. Excellent. Your form improves daily, Guy would praise, tears of pride streaming down his face. You are beginning to understand the true meaning of taijutsu. When Izuku turned 9, Guy judged him ready for the next phase, learning to open the 8 inner gates. The 8 gates are limiters placed on the body's chakra system, Guy explained during a lesson. Though this world does not use chakra as mine did, the principle remains the same. Your body restricts its own power to prevent self-destruction. By learning to release these limiters, you can access strength far beyond normal human capabilities. He drew a diagram in the sand, showing the locations of each gate. The gate of opening, located in the brain, removes mental inhibitions. The gate of healing in the brain increases physical energy and strength. The gate of life, on the spinal cord, increases blood flow and turns the skin red. The gate of pain, also on the spinal cord, increases speed and power further. The gate of limit in the abdomen grants access to even greater reserves of strength. Guy's expression became grave. Beyond these are the gates of truly dangerous territory. The gate of view, in the stomach, allows access to techniques like the morning peacock. The gate of wonder, below the stomach, enables the daytime tiger. And the gate of death, at the heart, grants ultimate power at the cost of certain death. Izuku listened with intense focus, memorizing every detail. We will start with the gate of opening. It is the safest and will teach you the fundamental principle of releasing your limiters. Are you ready? Yes, master? The process of learning to open even the first gate took months. It required perfect body awareness, understanding exactly where the limiter existed, and how to release it. Guy guided Izuku through meditation, through physical exercises designed to increase his awareness of his internal systems, through countless failed attempts. Then, one morning when Izuku was still 9 years old, it happened. He felt the limiter in his mind, felt the artificial restriction his brain placed on his body. With a focused effort of will, he released it. Power flooded through him. His muscles surged with energy he never felt before. The world seemed sharper, clearer. He moved and was shocked by his own speed. I did it! Izuku shouted, and Guy wept openly with joy. Yes, you have taken your first true step on this path. Now we train you to maintain it, to control it, to make it as natural as breathing. Over the next year, Izuku mastered the first gate completely. Guy taught him when to use it, how to manage the minimal stamina drain, how to fight while maintaining the enhanced state. The Gate of Opening became his default for serious situations. At age 10, Izuku opened the Gate of Healing. The process was faster this time, as he understood the principle. The second gate increased his physical energy dramatically, making him even stronger and faster. With both gates open, he could move at speeds that seemed superhuman even in a world of quirks. Guy introduced him to the Shadow of the Dancing Leaf, a technique that allowed him to match an opponent's movements perfectly, positioning himself in their blind spot. Combined with the opened gates, it made Izuku nearly impossible to evade. The Shadow of the Dancing Leaf is the foundation of our advanced techniques, Guy explained. Master this, and you will be ready for the Lotus techniques. By age 11, Izuku had opened the Gate of Life. When he released this third gate, his skin flushed red from increased blood flow, and his power increased exponentially. The stamina drain was noticeable but manageable for his trained body. With 3 gates available to him, Guy taught him the Front Lotus, a technique where he would wrap an opponent in bandages, use the Shadow of the Dancing Leaf to position them, then pile drive them into the ground while spinning at tremendous speed. The impact was devastating, capable of creating craters in the earth. The Front Lotus is a finishing technique, Guy warned. It requires precise execution and leaves you vulnerable afterward. Use it wisely. Izuku practiced the Front Lotus on training dummies and boulders, perfecting the timing and execution. The first time he successfully performed the complete technique, he created a crater 15 feet wide in the beach sand. At age 12, the Gate of Pain opened to him. The fourth gate increased his speed and power to levels that seemed impossible. With all 4 gates open, Izuku could move faster than most people could track with their eyes. The stamina cost was moderate, limiting how long he could maintain it, but Guy taught him to manage his energy efficiently. Around this time, Izuku's personality began to shift. The analytical, quiet boy became more outgoing, more expressive. He adopted Guy's enthusiastic mannerisms, his passionate speeches about youth and hard work, his tendency to weep tears of joy at displays of determination. But unlike Guy and Lee from his master's stories, Izuku retained his analytical mind. He studied opponents, identified weaknesses, formulated strategies even while shouting about the flames of youth. This combination, passionate warrior and tactical genius, made him uniquely dangerous. Guy noticed the change and approved. You are not merely copying me, my student. You are taking my teachings and making them your own. This is the mark of a true successor. By age 13, Izuku had opened the Gate of Limit, the 5th gate. This was a significant milestone, as it represented the threshold beyond which the gates became truly dangerous. With 5 gates open, his power was monstrous. The stamina drain was heavy, preventing extended use, but for short bursts, he was unstoppable. Guy began teaching him the Reverse Lotus, a more powerful version of the Front Lotus that utilized multiple gate openings and created even more devastating impacts. The technique was so powerful that using it created shockwaves that could shatter stone. You progress faster than I dared hope, Guy said one evening as they watched the sunset over the ocean. In my old world, it took most shinobi decades to reach this level. You have achieved it in 8 years. Because I have the greatest teacher, Izuku replied, and Guy wept. The old master was aging rapidly now. Izuku noticed how Guy moved a bit slower, how he tired more easily, how his demonstrations lacked their former explosive power. He never mentioned it, not wanting to cause his master pain, but he knew their time together was limited. At age 14, Izuku opened the Gate of View, the 6th gate. This was the first of the truly dangerous gates, and its power was staggering. When he opened it, a blue aura of energy surrounded his body, visible to the naked eye. His speed increased to the point where he created afterimages. His strength could shatter steel with casual strikes. With the 6th gate, Guy taught him the Morning Peacock, a technique where Izuku would stare so rapidly with flaming punches that it created fireballs through friction alone. The barrage of flaming projectiles looked like a peacock spreading its tail feathers, hence the name. The first time Izuku successfully performed the Morning Peacock, he incinerated a pile of scrap metal and created an explosion visible from the nearby city. This technique represents your entry into the realm of techniques that can challenge the strongest quirk users. Guy said solemnly. You are no longer merely a skilled taijutsu practitioner. You are a warrior who can reshape battlefields. Guy also taught him the seventh gate, the Gate of Wonder. And when opened, this gate surrounded Izuku with a green aura of energy and increased his power to catastrophic levels. The stamina drain was severe, making it unsuitable for extended combat, but for short periods, it granted him strength that could match the most powerful heroes. The seventh gate gave him access to the Daytime Tiger, a technique where Izuku would punch the air so hard it compressed into the shape of a tiger's head and shot forward as a devastating projectile of pure air pressure. The technique could level buildings and create craters dozens of feet wide. Guy had Izuku practice the Daytime Tiger against the ocean, sending massive columns of water hundreds of feet into the air with each strike. The Daytime Tiger is your answer to ranged combatants, Guy explained. They believe distance protects them. You will show them that nothing can protect them from your determination. Guy also opened the eighth and final gate for Izuku to observe, the Gate of Death. When he released it, his master's body became surrounded by a red aura of blood-red energy. His power increased beyond comprehension. He moved so fast he seemed to teleport. His strikes could pulverize mountains. This is the ultimate technique, Night Guy, the old master said, performing a single kick that created a shockwave so powerful it parted the ocean and revealed the seafloor for a brief moment. It bends space itself through pure physical force, but opening the eighth gate means certain death. Once opened, your body will burn through its life force completely. You will have mere minutes before your heart stops. Guy collapsed after the demonstration, his body smoking from the exertion. Izuku rushed to him, terrified. I am fine, my student. Guy reassured him, though he looked more aged than before. I opened it only briefly, not fully. But you must remember, the eighth gate is a last resort. Use it only when the world itself hangs in the balance. Promise me. I promise, Master. Good. Now I believe you are ready to learn the eighth gate's technique, though you must swear never to fully open it unless absolutely necessary. Over the following months, Guy taught Izuku the theory and execution of Night Guy. The technique was the ultimate expression of taijutsu, a kick so powerful it could distort space itself. Izuku practiced the movements without opening the eighth gate, ingraining the muscle memory so deeply that he could perform it instinctively if the need ever arose. Throughout his training, Izuku also became proficient with nunchaku. Guy had given him a training pair at age 10, and by 14, Izuku wielded them with devastating skill. He incorporated nunchaku strikes into his taijutsu combinations, using them to extend his reach and add unpredictable angles to his attacks. Guy's weighted training gear had also increased substantially. By age 14, Izuku wore weights totaling over 100 kilograms distributed across his body. They were hidden under his clothing, making him appear to be a normally built teenager. When he removed them, his speed increased so dramatically that he seemed to vanish from sight. The old master had given him everything. Every technique, every principle, every lesson learned over a lifetime of dedication to taijutsu. Izuku had absorbed it all, mastered it all, and in doing so had become something unprecedented, a quirkless individual who could challenge the strongest heroes through pure martial skill. It happened 1 week before the UA entrance exam. Izuku woke up as usual before dawn, prepared for training, and made his way to Dodagaba Beach. Guy was always there first, already warming up, ready to greet him with an enthusiastic shout, but that morning, the beach was empty. Izuku's heart clenched with sudden fear. In 10 years, Guy had never missed a training session. Never. He ran to the small apartment Guy had rented in town, taking the stairs 3 at a time. The door was unlocked, which was unusual. Izuku pushed it open slowly. Master? Guy lay in his bed, looking peaceful. His eyes were closed, and a gentle smile rested on his lips. For a moment, Izuku hoped he was simply sleeping late. Then he noticed his master wasn't breathing. No, please. Izuku rushed to the bedside, checking for a pulse he knew he wouldn't find. Might Guy had passed away peacefully in his sleep, a content smile on his face. Izuku collapsed beside the bed, and for the first time in 10 years, he cried. Not tears of weakness or despair, tears of grief for the man who had given him everything. The man who had seen potential in a quirkless 5-year-old when the world saw nothing. the man who had poured his soul into training him, who had wept tears of joy at every milestone, who had been more than a master, he'd been a father. "Thank you," Izuku whispered through his tears. "Thank you for everything, Master. I promise I'll make you proud. I promise I'll honor your legacy. I promise I'll show the world what the power of youth can accomplish." On the bedside table, Izuku found a letter addressed to him, along with a familiar set of nunchaku, Guy's prized weapons from his prime, polished to a mirror shine. The letter read, "My beloved student, Izuku Midoriya. If you are reading this, then I have departed on my final journey. Do not mourn for long, for I leave this world with a heart full of joy and peace. I found what I sought for so many years, a worthy successor, a student who embodied the true spirit of youth, a warrior who would carry on the legacy of the 8 gates. You have exceeded every expectation, surpassed every goal, and demonstrated dedication that moves me to tears even as I write this. You are no longer my student. You are my successor, my heir, my proof that hard work and determination can overcome any obstacle. These nunchaku served me well in my prime. Now they are yours. May they serve you as faithfully as you served our training. Remember always, youth is not about age. It is about passion, determination, and the refusal to give up. You embody the flames of youth more purely than anyone I have ever known. The UA entrance exam awaits you. Show them what a quirkless warrior can accomplish. Show them that the power of youth burns brighter than any quirk. Show them the beautiful green beast of UA. I will be watching you from wherever I go next. Make me proud, my son. Your eternal master. Might." Guy, Izuku clutched the letter to his chest, tears streaming down his face. Then he picked up the nunchaku, feeling their perfect weight and balance. He could sense his master's spirit in them, could almost hear Guy's voice shouting encouragement. He stood up, wiping his eyes. The grief remained, but it was joined by fierce determination. Guy had given him 10 years of wisdom, training, and love. The only way to honor that gift was to do exactly what the letter said: show the world what the flames of youth could accomplish. "I'll make you proud, Master," Izuku said to the empty room. "I promise." He spent the next hour making arrangements. He contacted the authorities, explained that Guy had no other family, handled the necessary paperwork. He organized a simple funeral, as he knew his master would have wanted. At the ceremony, only Izuku and his mother attended, but Izuku's eulogy was heartfelt and powerful. "Might Guy was the greatest man I ever knew," he said, standing before the simple casket. "He saw worth where others saw none. He gave me a future when I had none. He proved that dedication and hard work could overcome any limitation. I will carry his teachings forward. I will show this world that quirks don't make heroes. Heroes make themselves through the power of youth." His voice rang out clear and strong, filled with passion that would have made Guy weep tears of joy. After the funeral, Izuku returned to Dagobah Beach one final time before the exam. He stood where Guy had first approached him 10 years ago, remembering that life-changing conversation. He removed his shirt, revealing the lean, powerful physique he developed through a decade of brutal training. Then he removed his weighted leg guards, arm guards, and weighted vest. The weights thudded to the sand, over 100 kilograms of steel. Without the weights, Izuku felt like he could fly. Every movement was effortless, lightning fast, precise. He began to go through his techniques, one after another. Dynamic entry, kicking through the air with explosive force. Leaf whirlwind, his legs blurring with speed. Shadow of the dancing leaf, moving so fast he created after images. Then he opened the gates. First gate, mental limiters released, his focus sharpening. Second gate, physical energy surging, his muscles humming with power. Third gate, blood flow increasing, his skin flushing red, his power growing exponentially. Fourth gate, speed and strength increasing further, his movements becoming almost invisible. Fifth gate, crossing the threshold, his power reaching monstrous levels. Sixth gate, the blue aura appearing, his body radiating visible energy. He performed the morning peacock, his fists striking the air so rapidly they ignited, sending a barrage of flaming projectiles into the ocean. The water exploded upward in massive columns of steam. He let the gates close, returning to his normal state, breathing heavily from the exertion. "I'm ready," he said to the sky, knowing somehow that Guy was listening. "I'm ready to show them all." The UA entrance exam was in 2 days. The morning of the UA entrance exam, Izuku woke before dawn out of habit. For a moment, he started to prepare for training before remembering that Guy was gone. The grief was still fresh, but he pushed through it. His master wouldn't want him to falter now. He put on his chosen outfit, a simple green tracksuit similar to Guy's, weighted gear hidden beneath it, and Guy's nunchaku secured at his waist. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw not a quirkless boy, but a warrior ready to prove himself. His mother hugged him tightly before he left. "I'm so proud of you, Izuku. Whatever happens today, know that you've already accomplished so much." "Thanks, Mom. I'll make you proud. I'll make Master Guy proud." The journey to UA was surreal. Other applicants crowded the trains and streets, all talking excitedly about their quirks and their chances of getting in. Izuku heard snippets of conversation. "My explosion quirk will definitely impress them. I can manipulate gravity. They'll love that. With my super strength, I'm guaranteed to pass." None of them paid attention to the quiet boy in the green tracksuit. They had no idea what was about to happen. UA High School was even more impressive in person than in videos. The massive main building towered over everything else, a symbol of hero excellence. Hundreds of applicants gathered in the courtyard, all buzzing with nervous energy. Izuku found his assigned examination room and took a seat. The presentation began with Present Mike, the loud hero with the voice amplification quirk, explaining the exam format. "All right, examinee listeners. Let me explain how this will go down. You'll be dispatched to different battle centers where you'll face villain robots worth various points. There are 3 types: 1-pointers, 2-pointers, and 3-pointers. Your goal is to destroy as many as possible within the 10-minute time limit. Use your quirks to rack up points and show us what you've got." Present Mike went on to explain the rules and the existence of a 0-pointer, a massive obstacle to be avoided rather than fought. Izuku listened carefully, already formulating strategy. The other applicants around him were discussing how they'd use their quirks. He remained silent, conserving his energy. One applicant, a boy with an engine quirk in his legs, noticed Izuku's silence. "You there? Aren't you concerned about the exam? You haven't said anything about your quirk strategy." Izuku smiled, a confident expression that was pure might guy. "I don't need a quirk strategy. I have something better, the power of youth and 10 years of training." The engine boy looked confused and slightly dismissive. But before he could respond, Present Mike dismissed them to their assigned battle centers. Izuku was assigned to Battle Center B. As he walked toward the designated area, he stretched and loosened his muscles, preparing for combat. Other examinees gave him odd looks. Without any visible quirk, mutation, or special equipment, he looked utterly ordinary. They had no idea. The massive doors to Battle Center B opened, revealing a sprawling mock city filled with buildings, streets, and presumably hidden robots. "Begin." Present Mike's voice echoed across all the battle centers simultaneously. Most examinees rushed forward immediately, eager to find robots and start scoring points. Izuku walked calmly into the center, heading for a more isolated area. He needed space for what he was about to do. He found a wide plaza between several buildings. Perfect. He set his stance, reached down, and began removing his weights. The leg guards came off first, thudding to the ground with surprising weight. Then the arm guards. Then the weighted vest. The pile of weights on the ground represented over 100 kilograms of steel. Izuku rolled his shoulders, feeling the incredible freedom of movement. He bounced on his toes, testing his newfound speed. Even without opening any gates, he was already faster and stronger than most of the examinees here. Then he heard them, the mechanical whirring of approaching robots. 3 2-pointers and 2 3-pointers emerged from between buildings. Their sensors locked onto him. 8 points total if he could destroy them all. Izuku smiled. "Master Guy," he said softly, "watch this." He burst forward with explosive speed, crossing the 50-meter distance in less than a second. The robots didn't even have time to react before he was upon them. Dynamic entry. His jumping kick struck the first 3-pointer dead center, and the impact was catastrophic. The robot exploded into a shower of metal fragments, the force of the blow creating a small crater in the concrete beneath where it had stood. Izuku landed in a crouch, spun, and launched into his next technique. Leaf Whirlwind. His legs became a blur as he executed a perfect spinning kick combination. He struck the second three-pointer 3 times in rapid succession, each impact denting and crushing the robot's armor. The final kick tore the robot's head clean off its body. The 2 pointers opened fire with their built-in weapons, but Izuku was already moving. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf, positioning himself in their blind spots so perfectly that their targeting systems couldn't track him. He struck with precision and power, his fists crushing metal and circuits with each blow. The strong fist style emphasized external damage, and against mechanical opponents, it was devastatingly effective. In under 10 seconds, all 5 robots were destroyed. Izuku stood among the wreckage, barely breathing hard. 8 points. A decent start, but he was just getting warmed up. For the next several minutes, Izuku moved through Battle Center B like a force of nature. He didn't run. He flowed, using his incredible speed and awareness to locate robot clusters and eliminate them efficiently. 20 points, 50 points, 75 points. Other examinees occasionally caught glimpses of him. A green blur that appeared, destroyed multiple robots in seconds, and vanished again. They couldn't comprehend what they were seeing. One girl with a creation quirk watched in amazement as Izuku appeared in her combat zone, destroyed 6 robots with a combination of spinning kicks and precise strikes, and disappeared before she could even speak to him. A boy with a hardening quirk saw Izuku punch straight through a 3-pointer's armor with casual ease, rip out its core circuits, and move on to the next target without breaking stride. The exam proctors watching the camera feeds were equally stunned. "Who is that kid?" one asked. "The one moving like a green blur?" another responded, checking the roster. "Izuku Midoriya. Listed as Quirkless? That's impossible. Quirkless candidates never even make it past the written exam." Well, he passed the written exam with a perfect score. And look at him now. He's already accumulated over 100 points with 5 minutes remaining. All Might, who was observing from the control room in his civilian form, watched Izuku with intense interest. "Young Midoriya, what are you?" Back in the battle center, Izuku had racked up an impressive score, but he was looking for a real challenge. The robots, while numerous, weren't particularly strong. He'd been fighting without opening even a single gate, relying purely on his base abilities and the speed advantage from removing his weights. Then he heard it, a massive mechanical roar followed by screams. The 0-pointer had been released. Izuku ran toward the commotion, arriving at a wide street where the massive robot towered over everything else. It was easily as tall as a 10-story building, bristling with weapons and armor. Other examinees were fleeing in terror as instructed, but Izuku saw something that made him stop. A girl had fallen, trapped under some rubble from a building the 0-pointer had damaged. She was struggling to free herself, but her leg was pinned. The massive robot was advancing toward her, completely indifferent to her presence. In that moment, Izuku heard Guy's voice in his mind. "A true hero doesn't calculate the odds. A true hero acts when others cannot." He burst forward, crossing the distance in an instant. "Hey, over here, you oversized tin can." The 0-pointer's sensors swiveled toward him, but Izuku was already opening the gates. First gate, his focus sharpened. Second gate, his physical energy surged. Third gate, his skin flushed red as blood flow increased. Fourth gate, his speed increased dramatically. The 0-pointer fired missiles, but to Izuku's enhanced perception, they moved in slow motion. He weaved between them effortlessly, each one exploding harmlessly against the street behind him. Fifth gate, he crossed the threshold, his power reaching monstrous levels. Izuku leaped, soaring through the air toward the 0-pointer's head. The robot tried to swat him with its massive arm, but he was too fast. Morning Peacock. His fists became a blur, striking the air so rapidly that friction ignited them. Flaming projectiles hammered into the 0-pointer's head in a devastating barrage, each one exploding with tremendous force. The robot's head armor cracked, then shattered. Its sensors exploded. Its targeting systems failed, but it was still advancing toward the trapped girl. Izuku landed on its shoulder, ran down its arm, and leaped toward its central body. He drew Guy's nunchaku in midair, spinning them with practiced skill. Sixth gate, the blue aura surrounded him, visible energy radiating from his body. "You will not harm her." Izuku roared, his voice echoing across the battle center. He struck the robot's chest armor with the nunchaku, and the impact created a massive dent. He followed up with a barrage of strikes. Nunchaku, fists, kicks, elbows, knees, each blow delivered with the full force of 6 open gates. The zero-pointer's chest armor crumpled. Its internal structure buckled. Sparks flew from damaged circuits. Izuku saw the robot's leg preparing to step forward toward where the girl lay trapped. Not acceptable. He dropped to the robot's knee joint, planted his feet, and punched upward with everything he had. The joint exploded. The massive robot's leg gave out and it began to topple backward, away from the girl. As it fell, Izuku leaped free, landed in a roll, and sprinted to the trapped girl. He grabbed the rubble, pinning her leg, and lifted it with his enhanced strength, tossing it aside like it weighed nothing. "Can you move?" he asked. The girl, who had brown hair and kind eyes, nodded, stunned. "Yes, thank you." "Then run. The exam's almost over." She hesitated. "But what about you? You're not going to score any more points?" Izuku smiled at that confident, guy-like expression. "I already have enough points, and besides, a true hero doesn't need points to prove their worth. Now go." She ran, looking back at him with gratitude and amazement. Behind Izuku, the zero-pointer crashed to the ground, completely destroyed. He let the gates close, feeling the familiar fatigue of having used 6 gates, though his conditioned body handled it well. The buzzer sounded, signaling the end of the exam. Izuku stood amid the wreckage of the zero-pointer, breathing steadily, his green tracksuit singed from the flames of the morning peacock, but otherwise intact. In the control room, complete silence reigned. Every proctor, every hero, everyone watching the feeds was staring at the screen, showing Battle Center B in absolute shock. "Did that Quirkless kid just," one proctor started. "Destroy the zero-pointer," another finished. Yes, he did." All Might's eyes were wide. "Incredible. Young Midoriya, you are truly remarkable." Present Mike checked the scoring system and his jaw dropped. Folks, you're going to want to see this. Midoriya's score is 167 points. That's not just the highest score today. That's the highest score in UA entrance exam history, by a significant margin. The room erupted in discussion. How was this possible? A Quirkless applicant achieving the highest score ever. What kind of training had he undergone? What were those techniques he used? Recovery Girl, who had been watching with particular interest, smiled knowingly. That boy has found his own path to strength. How beautiful. 2 weeks later, Izuku received his acceptance letter from UA. His mother cried tears of joy when they watched the holographic message from All Might congratulating him on his admission and his record-breaking score. "You did it, Izuku," Inko sobbed happily. "I'm so proud of you." Izuku smiled, holding the acceptance letter. "Thanks, Mom, but this is just the beginning. Master Guy didn't train me for 10 years just to get into UA. He trained me to become the greatest hero." The first day of school arrived. Izuku wore his UA uniform with pride, though he'd modified it slightly to accommodate his weighted gear. The weights were back on. He always wore them unless fighting seriously, but they were hidden beneath his clothes. Guy's nunchaku were secured at his waist, partially concealed by his jacket. He arrived at UA early, before most other students. The massive building seemed to welcome him, as if recognizing the potential within its walls. Class 1A's door was enormous, designed to accommodate students with large-type quirks. Izuku slid it open and entered. Several students were already present. A boy with distinctive half-red, half-white hair sat quietly in the back corner. A girl with a ponytail was organizing her desk with meticulous care. And notably, an explosive-looking blonde boy was sitting with his feet on his desk, glaring at anyone who looked at him. Izuku recognized him immediately. Bakugo. His childhood acquaintance. They hadn't been friends in this timeline. Bakugo had always been dismissive of the quirkless Izuku, and Izuku had simply ignored him, too focused on training to care about a bully's opinion. Bakugo's eyes narrowed when Izuku entered. Well, if it isn't the quirkless loser, I'm shocked you even bothered applying to UA. What? Did you think your little workout routine would? He stopped mid-sentence because Izuku wasn't listening. He'd walked past Bakugo without even acknowledging him, chosen a seat by the window, and was gazing outside with a serene expression. The dismissal was more insulting than any response could have been. Bakugo's hands sparked with small explosions. "Hey, I'm talking to you, you." Bakugo, Izuku said calmly, still looking out the window. I have neither the time nor the interest in your fragile ego. I'm here to become a hero, not to validate your need for attention. I suggest you focus on your own path. The classroom went silent. Several students who just entered stopped in shock. No one talked to Bakugo that way. Bakugo's face turned red with rage. You little... The door opened again, and their teacher entered. He was a disheveled-looking man in a sleeping bag with tired eyes and long black hair. Sit down and shut up, the teacher said in a monotone voice. I'm Shota Aizawa, your homeroom teacher. Now that you're all here, let's get started. He surveyed the class with his exhausted gaze. First things first. UA is a school that values freedom and autonomy. Therefore, most of our curriculum will be battle-focused. Today, we're starting with a quirk apprehension test. Several students looked excited. One girl with pink skin and horns raised her hand. What about the entrance ceremony, the orientation? Waste of time, Aizawa said bluntly. You're here to become heroes, not attend ceremonies. Now, everyone get changed into your gym uniforms and meet me at the training grounds. We're going to see what you can really do. As the class filed out to change, Izuku felt a spark of excitement. Finally, a chance to show what he could do in an official capacity. Finally, a chance to honor Guy's legacy. The training grounds were expansive, with equipment for various physical tests. Aizawa stood before the assembled class, holding a small device. You're going to perform 8 physical tests, he explained. 50-meter dash, grip strength, standing long jump, repeated side steps, ball throw, distance run, sit-ups, and toe touch. These are standard fitness tests, but this time, you can use your quirks. Go all out. Show me what you've got. He fixed them with a serious stare. Oh, and one more thing. The student who places last in the overall rankings will be to have no potential and will be expelled immediately. The class erupted in protests, but Aizawa silenced them with a look. UA is a hero school. If you can't handle pressure and perform under stress, you don't belong here. Now, let's begin. The first test was the 50-meter dash. Students lined up, and Aizawa called them forward in pairs. One student used an engine quirk to blast through the course in just over 3 seconds. Another used a tail for extra propulsion. Bakugo used explosions to rocket forward. Then Izuku's turn came. He removed his jacket, revealing the weighted gear beneath. Several classmates noticed the strange equipment. What's with the weights? Someone asked. Izuku smiled. These, I wear them for training, but for tests. He began removing the weights, letting them thud heavily to the ground. I take them off. Without the weights, Izuku felt like he could fly. He took his position at the starting line. Ready, go. Izuku opened the first gate, mental limiters released, and burst forward with explosive speed. He crossed the 50-meter distance in under 2 seconds, his movement creating a small gust of wind. The electronic timer displayed 1.89 seconds. The class stared in shock. That was faster than most speed-based quirks. Aizawa's eyebrows rose slightly. Impressive. Next test. For the grip strength test, Izuku opened the second gate, physical energy surging, and squeezed the measuring device. The number climbed rapidly. 100 kilograms, 200 kilograms, 300 kilograms, 400 kilos. The device cracked under the pressure and stopped recording at 540 kilograms. Aizawa looked at the broken device, then at Izuku. I'll put you down for 540 plus. The standing long jump was trivial. Izuku easily cleared the entire sandbox. The side steps were a blur of motion that the recording equipment could barely track. For the ball throw, Aizawa handed him a softball and said, use whatever you've got. Let's see your best. Izuku took the ball, walked to the throwing circle, and considered his options. He could use the gates, but that seemed excessive for a simple ball throw. Instead, he'd rely on pure technique. He wound up, using the full body rotation and power generation of his taijutsu training. His throw was technically perfect, putting every ounce of force into the ball without wasting a single movement. The ball flew through the air like a missile, disappearing into the distance. Aizawa checked his device. 705 meters. Impressive. A girl with gravity manipulation had achieved over 700 meters as well, so Izuku wasn't the sole leader in this test, but his purely physical throw without any quirk assistance was remarkable. The remaining tests, distance run, sit-ups, and toe touch, were similarly dominated by Izuku's superior physical conditioning. 10 years of Guy's training had made him a physical specimen that surpassed most quirk users in raw athletic ability. When all tests were completed, Aizawa displayed the rankings on a holographic screen. Izuku Midoriya was ranked first overall, with exceptional scores across every category. The class was silent, staring at the results. A quirkless student had outperformed everyone, including those with powerful physical enhancement quirks. Bakugo looked like he was about to explode, literally and figuratively. His pride couldn't handle being outperformed by someone he'd always considered inferior. Aizawa studied Izuku with interest. Midoriya, you're listed as quirkless in your file. Care to explain how you achieved these results? Izuku smiled that confident guy smile. Training, Aizawa-sensei. 10 years of the most intense training imaginable, taught by the greatest master who ever lived. I learned that quirks are simply one path to strength. Hard work, dedication, and the power of youth are another path, and sometimes a superior one. The power of youth? Aizawa repeated, sounding skeptical. Yes, sensei. Youth is about passion, determination, and refusing to give up. It's about pushing past your limits and achieving the impossible. My master taught me that anyone can become strong if they're willing to work hard enough. That's the beautiful green beast philosophy. Several classmates looked at him like he was crazy. Others seemed impressed by his enthusiasm. Aizawa just sighed. Right. Well, your results speak for themselves. As for the expulsion, he smirked slightly. That was a logical ruse to make sure you all tried your hardest. No one's actually getting expelled today. The class erupted in relief and complaints, but Izuku had suspected as much. It was a classic stress test, and an effective one. As the class returned to change back into their school uniforms, several students approached Izuku. The girl who could manipulate gravity, Ochako Uraraka, smiled brightly. That was amazing. You're so strong, even without a quirk. How did you train like that? Izuku's eyes lit up with passionate enthusiasm. Ah! You wish to know about the power of youth and hard work. I trained every single day for 10 years under the greatest master. Push-ups, sit-ups, running, combat drills, weighted training, and learning to unlock my body's hidden potential. Anyone can do it if they have the passion and determination. A boy with red hair and a shark-tooth smile grinned. That's so manly. I have a hardening quirk, but you're way stronger than me just through training. That's seriously impressive. Your spirit is admirable. Izuku exclaimed, giving him a thumbs up. With that enthusiasm, you will surely become an amazing hero. What's your name, my friend? Eijiro Kirishima, nice to meet you. Excellent, I sense we will become good friends, Kirishima. Your dedication to manliness reminds me of my master's teachings about youth. The half-red, half-white-haired boy from earlier approached more quietly. Your abilities are remarkable. I'm Shoto Todoroki. I look forward to seeing what you can do in actual combat training. Izuku extended his hand. And I look forward to seeing your abilities as well, Todoroki. I can sense you possess great power. Let us both strive to become the best heroes we can be. Todoroki shook his hand, seeming slightly taken aback by Izuku's enthusiasm, but not displeased. Not everyone was friendly, of course. Bakugo stormed past, deliberately bumping into Izuku's shoulder. Don't get cocky, you quirkless freak, he muttered. I'm going to crush you and prove you're nothing special. Izuku didn't react beyond a small smile. You're welcome to try, Bakugo. But you'll find that explosions mean nothing against someone who has mastered the flames of youth. The confidence in his voice wasn't arrogance. It was simple fact. Bakugo might have a powerful quirk, but Izuku had 10 years of training specifically designed to overcome superhuman opponents. The gap between them was vast, even if Bakugo didn't realize it yet. The next few days at UA passed quickly. Academic classes were interesting but unchallenging for Izuku. His analytical mind absorbed information rapidly. His classmates gradually got used to his enthusiastic personality and passionate speeches about youth and hard work. Then came the class everyone had been waiting for. Foundational Hero Studies, taught by All Might himself. The symbol of peace entered Class 1A with his characteristic booming voice and massive presence. I am here, coming through the door like a hero. The class erupted in excitement. All Might was the #1 hero, the symbol of peace, the man who always saved everyone with a smile. Seeing him as their teacher was a dream come true. Welcome, students. Today we will be conducting battle trials. You will be split into teams of 2 and engage in heroes versus villains scenarios. This will test your combat ability, teamwork, and strategic thinking. All Might explained the rules. Teams would be randomly selected. The villain team would guard a mock nuclear weapon inside a building. The hero team would need to either capture the villains or touch the weapon within a time limit. Now, draw lots to determine your teams. Izuku drew his lot and found himself paired with Ochako Uraraka. Not a bad combination. Her gravity manipulation could be useful if he needed to rescue civilians or navigate unusual terrain. His opponents were randomly selected. Bakugo and a boy named Denki Kaminari, who had an electricity quirk. Bakugo's face split into a vicious grin when he saw the matchup. Perfect. I'm going to enjoy crushing you, Midoriya. All Might seemed slightly concerned by the matchup, but allowed it to proceed. Remember, this is training. No killing or permanent injuries. Use your quirks and abilities, but show restraint. The hero team, Izuku and Ochako, had 5 minutes to plan before entering the building. So, what's your quirk exactly? Ochako asked. I've heard you're quirkless, but those techniques you showed during the apprehension test were incredible. I have no quirk, Izuku confirmed, but I've trained in a martial arts style called taijutsu for 10 years. It allows me to access my body's hidden reserves of power and perform techniques that might seem superhuman. As for strategy, I'll take point. Your gravity manipulation, can you make yourself weightless? Yes, I can float, and I can make other objects or people float too. Excellent. I'll engage our opponents directly. If I signal you, be ready to use your quirk on me. I have an idea that might surprise them. Got it. The exercise began. Izuku and Ochako entered the building, which was a multi-story training facility designed to simulate urban combat. The first floor was clear. They ascended to the second floor cautiously. Suddenly, an explosion tore through the wall beside them. Bakugo came rocketing through the hole, his hands crackling with explosive power. Die, Midoriya! His palm strike was aimed directly at Izuku's face, packed with explosive force. It was excessive, dangerous, potentially lethal. This wasn't training. This was Bakugo trying to prove something. To everyone watching on the monitors, it looked like Izuku was about to take a devastating hit. Then Izuku moved. He opened the first gate, mental limiters released, and his perception of time seemed to slow. Bakugo's attack, which would catch most people off guard, was telegraphed and predictable. Izuku used the shadow of the dancing leaf, moving so perfectly that he positioned himself directly in Bakugo's blind spot. The explosion passed harmlessly through empty air. Before Bakugo could react, Izuku struck. Leaf whirlwind. His legs swept Bakugo's feet out from under him, then followed up with a spinning kick to the midsection that sent the explosive boy crashing into the far wall. Bakugo struggled to his feet, his expression shocked and furious. How did you? Kaminari emerged from a doorway, electricity crackling around his body. Eat this! Indiscriminate shock! He released a massive burst of electricity that filled the corridor. Ochako, close your eyes, Izuku shouted. He opened the second gate, physical energy surging, and his speed increased dramatically. He grabbed Ochako, leaped straight upward, and punched through the ceiling with his free hand, carrying them both to the third floor before the electricity could reach them. Whoa! Ochako exclaimed as they landed on the floor above. That was amazing! Below, they heard Kaminari's electric attack dissipate, followed by a thud. The boy had short-circuited himself with his own quirk, as often happened when he used too much power. One down, Izuku said. Stay alert. Bakugo won't give up easily. They moved through the third floor, searching for the mock weapon. According to the building layout, it should be on the fourth floor, but they needed to. Another explosion, this time from above. Bakugo had blown a hole in the fourth floor and was descending toward them, his face twisted with rage. Stop dodging and fight me properly, he roared, launching a barrage of explosions. Izuku pushed Ochako behind cover and faced Bakugo directly. You want to see my true abilities? Very well. But remember, you asked for this. He opened the third gate, blood flow increasing, skin flushing red, and his power increased exponentially. Bakugo's eyes widened at the visible change. What the hell is that? This is the third gate, Izuku explained calmly. It increases my blood flow and physical power. Let me show you what real speed looks like. He vanished. To To the observers in the monitoring room, it looked like Izuku simply disappeared. All Might leaned forward, his expression serious. Incredible speed. Bakugo spun around wildly, trying to track Izuku's movement. "Where are you?" "Behind you," Izuku said, his voice calm. Bakugo spun and launched an explosive attack, but Izuku was already gone, appearing on his other side. Too slow. Another explosion, another miss. This continued for several seconds, Bakugo attacking empty air while Izuku moved around him effortlessly. It was humiliating, being treated like a child unable to touch his opponent. Finally, Bakugo stopped, breathing hard from exertion. "Stop playing around." "I'm not playing," Izuku said seriously. "I'm showing you the gap between us. You rely solely on your quirk's raw power. You don't think tactically. You don't read your opponent. You just explode things and hope it works. Against someone with real training, that approach is useless." Bakugo's pride shattered. He'd always considered himself superior, destined for greatness, better than everyone else. And now this quirkless boy was telling him he was inadequate? "I'll kill you," Bakugo screamed, pulling the pin on his grenade gauntlet, a support item that stored his sweat for a massive explosion. All Might grabbed the microphone. "Young Bakugo, stand down. That attack is too dangerous for training." But Bakugo wasn't listening. He aimed the gauntlet at Izuku and Ochako and released the stored explosion. The blast was enormous, powerful enough to potentially kill. It filled the entire corridor with destructive force. In the monitoring room, several students gasped in horror. All Might prepared to intervene. But then the smoke cleared, and everyone saw Izuku standing calmly, completely unharmed. He'd used Ochako's quirk. She'd made him weightless at his signal, and he'd kicked off the ceiling, positioning himself above the explosion's path while simultaneously pulling Ochako up with him. They descended slowly, Ochako's quirk still active. "That was reckless and dangerous," Bakugo, Izuku said, his voice carrying disappointment rather than anger. "A true hero doesn't risk civilian casualties or their teammates' safety just to satisfy their ego." He turned to Ochako. "Release your quirk on me, please. I'm going to end this." She nodded, and Izuku dropped to the ground, landing in a perfect crouch. He opened the fourth gate, speed and power increasing further, and his movements became almost invisible. Dynamic entry. He appeared in front of Bakugo in an instant and delivered a perfectly controlled jumping kick to the boy's midsection. The impact sent Bakugo flying backward through several walls, finally coming to rest in what happened to be the room with the mock weapon. Izuku walked calmly through the holes in the walls, arriving at the weapon room. Bakugo was unconscious, breathing but clearly defeated. "Ochako, touch the weapon, please." She did, and All Might's voice echoed through the building. "Hero team wins." In the monitoring room, the class was silent, awed by what they'd witnessed. "That was..." Kirishima started. "Incredible," Todoroki finished. All Might was equally impressed. Young Midoriya has trained his body and mind to a level that rivals professional heroes. His tactical thinking, his control, his ability to adapt, all exceptional. And he showed restraint, even when his opponent didn't. After the exercise, when both teams returned to the monitoring room, All Might addressed them. "The MVP of this battle is Midoriya," he announced. While his combat skills were impressive, what truly stood out was his strategic thinking, his concern for his teammates' safety, and his restraint against an opponent who showed none. These are the qualities of a true hero. Bakugo stood in the corner, his pride in ruins, unable to even look at Izuku. His worldview had been shattered. Everything he'd believed about quirks and strength had been proven wrong. Izuku approached him after class. "Bakugo." The explosive boy flinched, expecting mockery. "You have a powerful quirk and good instincts," Izuku said sincerely. "But you need to learn control, strategy, and what it truly means to be a hero. I hope this battle taught you something valuable. I would prefer us to be allies rather than enemies." He extended his hand. Bakugo stared at it, his emotions warring. Part of him wanted to reject it, to cling to his pride. But another part recognized the genuine offer of friendship, the lack of condescension or pity. Finally, grudgingly, he shook Izuku's hand. "I'm going to surpass you," he muttered. "I don't care how much you've trained. I'll find a way." Izuku smiled. "Good. That competitive spirit will make you stronger. Work hard, and perhaps one day you will. That is the spirit of youth." Despite everything, Bakugo found himself almost smiling. Almost. The next few weeks at UA passed in a blur of classes, training exercises, and bonding with classmates. Izuku had become something of a celebrity within Class 1A. His enthusiasm was infectious, his dedication inspiring, and his abilities awe-inspiring. He'd formed friendships with several classmates. Kirishima admired his manliness and determination. Ochako appreciated his kindness and tactical mind. Even Todoroki, who kept most people at arm's length, seemed to respect Izuku's strength and philosophy. Izuku continued his personal training every morning before school, maintaining Guy's rigorous regimen even without his master's guidance. He ran, practiced his techniques, and pushed his body to its limits. The weights stayed on constantly, and he only removed them for serious combat situations. Then came the day that everything changed. Class 1A was scheduled for a rescue training exercise at a facility called the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ. It was a massive training dome that simulated various disaster scenarios: floods, fires, landslides, and more. The class boarded a bus, chattering excitedly about the upcoming exercise. Izuku sat near the window, his mind wandering to Guy. His master would have loved this, the chance to save people, to be a true hero. When they arrived at USJ, they were greeted by the space hero, 13, whose quirk allowed them to create and control black holes. The hero explained the facility and the importance of using their quirks to save people rather than fight. "Your quirks are powerful," 13 said, "but they can also be dangerous. Today, you'll learn to use them responsibly in rescue scenarios." Aizawa stood near the entrance, his usual tired expression in place. All Might was supposed to join them, but had apparently used up his time limit for the day and couldn't attend. Just as 13 finished the explanation, the lights flickered. A dark purple portal appeared in the central plaza of the USJ. Figures began emerging from it, dozens of people, all with a villainous appearance. "Stay back," Aizawa shouted, his expression suddenly serious. "Those are villains. 13, protect the students." Izuku's eyes narrowed as he analyzed the situation. There were perhaps 50 or 60 villains, all armed or displaying dangerous quirks. At the center of the group stood three figures that immediately drew his attention. The first was a man made entirely of purple mist, clearly the one creating the portals. The second was a man covered in disembodied hands, scratching at his neck nervously. Something about him radiated danger. The third was a massive creature with an exposed brain and a bird-like beak. It stood perfectly still, radiating an aura of barely contained violence. "Villains?" Kirishima said, sounding shocked. "Here? At UA? This is bad," Izuku muttered. His instincts, owned by 10 years of combat training, were screaming danger. These weren't ordinary criminals. This was organized, planned, and extremely dangerous. The hand-covered villain spoke, his voice raspy and disturbed. "Where is he? Where is All Might? We came here to kill the symbol of peace." Aizawa was already moving, his capture weapon unfurling. 13, get the students out of here. I'll hold them off." "But Sensei," one student started. "Go, that's an order." The class began retreating toward the entrance, but the mist villain appeared in front of them, blocking their path. I'm afraid I cannot allow that," the mist said politely. "We've come all this way. It would be rude of you to leave before the main event." Kirishima and Bakugo attacked simultaneously, but their strikes passed harmlessly through the mist villain's body. "How foolish," the villain said. "My quirk allows me to create and control portals. You cannot harm mist. Now then, shall I scatter you all across this facility to be killed by my associates?" Portals began opening beneath the students' feet. "Everyone, stay together," Izuku shouted, but it was too late. The portals activated and students began disappearing, just teleported to different disaster zones where groups of villains waited. Izuku felt the familiar sensation of teleportation and found himself emerging in what looked like a landslide zone, an area filled with rocky terrain and steep cliffs. Around him were approximately 15 villains, all grinning maliciously. But he wasn't alone. Ochako had been teleported with him, appearing beside him, looking frightened but determined. "Well, well," one villain sneered. "Looks like we got a couple of brats. This'll be easy." Izuku's expression became serious. He'd hoped to avoid serious combat so early in his hero career, but circumstances had forced his hand. These villains intended to kill his classmate and him. They'd attacked his school, they'd threatened his friends. He couldn't hold back. "Ochako," he said calmly, "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Yes. What's the plan? Make yourself weightless and stay in the air. I'll handle the villains. Don't interfere unless I signal you. But there are so many. You can't. Yes, I can. Please trust me. Something in his voice, the absolute confidence, the certainty made her nod. She activated her quirk and floated upward, out of immediate danger. Izuku turned to face the 15 villains. They were advancing, confident in their numbers. Last chance, he said clearly. Surrender now and I'll make sure you're arrested safely. Continue, and I'll be forced to use serious techniques. The villains laughed. One with a strength enhancement quirk charged forward, fist raised to crush Izuku's skull. Izuku sighed. You were warned. He removed his jacket, letting it fall to the ground. Then he began removing his weights, the leg guards, the arm guards, the weighted vest. Each piece thudded to the ground with substantial weight. The villains' laughter died as they realized those accessories were incredibly heavy training weights. Without the weights, Izuku rolled his shoulders, feeling the familiar freedom of movement. Then he opened the gates. First gate, mental limiters released. Second gate, physical energy surging. Third gate, blood flow increasing, skin flushing red. Fourth gate, speed and power rising dramatically. The charging villain's fist was inches from Izuku's face when he moved. To the villains, it looked like Izuku simply vanished. Dynamic entry! The charging villain was struck by a devastating jumping kick that sent him flying backward into his companions. 3 villains went down from the impact alone. Izuku landed in the center of the group, his movements fluid and precise. Leaf whirlwind! His legs became a blur, striking multiple villains with a rapid series of kicks. Each kick was precisely calibrated, hard enough to incapacitate but not kill. Bones broke. Villains cried out in pain. Bodies flew through the air. A villain with a fire quirk tried to burn him, but Izuku used the shadow of the dancing leaf to position himself in the villain's blind spot, then struck with a palm thrust to the solar plexus that expelled all air from his lungs. An earth manipulation user tried to trap him with stone, but Izuku's speed let him dodge effortlessly. Weaving between attacks that couldn't hope to track him, in less than 30 seconds, all 15 villains were unconscious or incapacitated, groaning in pain on the ground. Izuku stood among them, barely breathing hard. The 4 gates were still open, his skin still flushed red, but he was completely in control. Ochako, you can come down now, he called. She descended slowly, staring at the defeated villains in shock. You beat all of them. In seconds. My master trained me to fight multiple opponents simultaneously, Izuku explained, letting the gates close. These villains were dangerous, but they lacked real training. Now we need to regroup with the others. Can you use your quirk to help us move quickly? Yes, I can make us both weightless. Excellent. Make us weightless, and I'll provide the propulsion. She touched him, and they both became weightless. Izuku kicked off the ground lightly, and they soared through the air, moving toward the central plaza where he could sense the most intense fighting. As Izuku and Ochako soared over the USJ facility, he could see the battle unfolding below. Aizawa was fighting multiple villains simultaneously, his erasure quirk allowing him to nullify their powers while he fought with his capture weapon. The teacher was skilled, taking down villain after villain with brutal efficiency, but he was outnumbered and growing tired. We need to help Aizawa-sensei, Izuku said. Ochako, can you land us near the plaza? Got it. They descended toward the central area, landing near where several of their classmates had regrouped. Kirishima, Bakugo, and Todoroki had apparently fought their way back, and Izuku could see groups of unconscious villains around them. Midoriya, Kirishima shouted. You're okay. I'm fine. Status report? Most of us are scattered across different zones, Todoroki said, ice crystals still forming around his right side. We've been fighting our way back, but there are too many villains. Izuku nodded, analyzing the situation. Aizawa was still fighting in the plaza, but he was clearly tiring. The hand-covered villain, who seemed to be the leader, was watching the fight with disturbing interest. The mist villain hovered nearby, and that massive creature with the exposed brain hadn't moved at all. That thing, Izuku said, pointing at the brain creature. That's the real threat. I can sense it from here. It's not human. It's something else. As if responding to his words, the hand-covered villain, who they'd later learn was named Tomura Shigaraki, finally lost patience. Nomu, he said to the creature. Kill the erasure hero, show them despair. The creature called Nomu moved. It was impossibly fast for something so large. One moment it was standing still, the next it was beside Aizawa, its massive fist already swinging. Aizawa barely dodged, his eyes widening in shock. He'd erased countless quirks today, but when his gaze fell on Nomu, nothing happened. The creature was unaffected. Multiple quirks? Aizawa muttered. That's impossible. Nomu's fist caught him in the ribs, and even from a distance, Izuku heard bones crack. Aizawa flew backward, crashing into the ground hard. Sensei! Multiple students shouted. Nomu advanced on the fallen teacher, ready to deliver a killing blow. Izuku moved without thinking. He'd already removed his weights during the previous fight and hadn't put them back on. Now he opened the gates in rapid succession. First gate, second gate, third gate, fourth gate, fifth gate. Crossing the threshold, his power reaching monstrous levels, his body blazed with energy as he crossed the distance in a heartbeat. He appeared between Nomu and Aizawa, his hand catching the creature's descending fist. The impact created a shockwave that cracked the ground beneath them. Everyone stared in shock. A student had just stopped that monster's attack with one hand. Nomu's exposed brain twitched as it processed this unexpected resistance. It pulled back its fist and swung again, this time with even more force. Izuku parried the blow and countered with a palm strike to Nomu's chest. The impact echoed like thunder, and Nomu slid backwards several feet, leaving furrows in the ground. Impressive, Shigaraki said, scratching his neck with disturbing intensity. That student is actually fighting Nomu, but it won't matter. Nomu has shock absorption and regeneration. Physical attacks won't work. Izuku heard this and smiled. Is that what you think? Then allow me to demonstrate something important. He opened the sixth gate, the gate of view. A blue aura of energy surrounded his body, visible to everyone present. His power increased exponentially, and the air around him began to distort from the sheer pressure of his enhanced state. What is that? Shigaraki said, sounding uncertain for the first time. This, Izuku said, his voice echoing with power, is what happens when human potential is pushed beyond its normal limits. This is the sixth of the 8 inner gates, a technique that turns willpower into raw power. He burst forward, moving so fast that Nomu barely reacted in time. His attacks were no longer just punches and kicks. Each strike created visible shock waves. Each impact generated explosive force. Nomu's shock absorption quirk struggled to handle the onslaught. Its regeneration quirk worked overtime, healing damage as fast as Izuku inflicted it, but Izuku was just getting started. Morning Peacock. His fists became a blur, striking the air in front of Nomu so rapidly that friction ignited them. Flaming projectiles hammered into the creature in a devastating barrage, each one exploding with tremendous force. The technique lit up the entire USJ facility, looking exactly like a peacock spreading its tail feathers, a beautiful, terrifying display of pure power. Nomu was driven backward by the assault, its body smoking from the impacts. Its regeneration was struggling to keep up. From the entrance, where the remaining students had gathered, they watched in awe. "Is that really a student?" someone whispered. "He's fighting that monster thing evenly." Todoroki's eyes were wide. "That power. It's incredible, and he's doing all that without a quirk." Bakugo's fists clenched. Part of him felt the old jealousy and anger, but another part, the part that wanted to be a true hero, felt inspired. If someone quirkless could achieve such power through training, what could he accomplish if he worked harder? In the plaza, Nomu had recovered from the morning peacock, its regeneration healing the damage. It roared and charged again, moving with frightening speed. Izuku met it head-on, his sixth gate still active. They exchanged a flurry of blows, Nomu's superhuman strength versus Izuku's technique and enhanced power. Each impact created shockwaves that shattered the ground around them. "This is amazing," Izuku shouted, his face split in a wide grin that was pure might guy. "You're incredibly strong. This is what a real fight feels like. The flames of youth burn brighter with worthy opponents." Despite the desperate situation, despite the danger, Izuku was enjoying the battle. This was what Guy had trained him for, to face overwhelming odds with a smile, to push past his limits, to never give up. But he could feel the sixth gate's stamina drain. He couldn't maintain it indefinitely. He needed to end this fight decisively. "Ochako," he called out, "I need your help." She'd been watching from a safe distance, awed and terrified by the battle. "What do you need?" "When I give the signal, use your quirk on that creature. Make it weightless." "Got it." Izuku engaged Nomu again, trading blows while maneuvering it into position. Then, at the perfect moment, he shouted, "Now!" Ochako touched the ground, and her quirk extended to Nomu through the connection. The creature suddenly became weightless, floating upward. Nomu flailed, unused to being airborne and unable to generate force without solid ground to push against. Izuku leaped upward, using the full power of his sixth gate to reach the floating Nomu. He wrapped his capture tape, borrowed from Aizawa, around the creature, binding its arms and securing it. Shadow of the Dancing Leaf. He positioned himself above Nomu, matching its movements perfectly. Front Lotus! They began to spin, Izuku using his momentum and the rotation to accelerate their descent. They spun faster and faster, Nomu's weightless body offering no resistance. Then, just before impact, Ochako released her quirk. Gravity reasserted itself, and Izuku pile-drove Nomu into the ground with the full force of the Front Lotus enhanced by 6 opened gates. The impact was catastrophic. A massive crater formed in the USJ Plaza, easily 30 feet wide and 10 feet deep. Dust and debris exploded outward in a ring. When the dust settled, Nomu lay at the bottom of the crater, its body broken and twisted. Its regeneration was working, but slowly. The damage was so extensive that even its enhanced healing struggled to cope. Izuku stood at the crater's edge, breathing hard. The 6th gate was still open, but he was feeling the stamina drain acutely now. He'd need to close it soon. Shigaraki stared at the scene in disbelief. Impossible. Nomu was designed to fight All Might. How did a mere student? Because quirks don't determine strength, Izuku said, his voice carrying across the plaza. Hard work does. Dedication does. The power of youth does. My master taught me that lesson, and I will honor his memory by proving it to everyone who doubts it. The mist villain Kurogiri moved to open a portal, clearly intending to retreat now that their primary weapon was defeated. But before he could, the doors to USJ burst open with tremendous force. "I am here!" All Might had arrived, and he was furious. His smile was gone, replaced by an expression of righteous anger. He took in the scene, his students under attack, Aizawa injured, villains everywhere, and his power surged. "You dare attack my students?" All Might's voice boomed like thunder. "Villains, you will face justice." He moved with incredible speed, appearing among the villains and dispatching them with powerful strikes. Each punch sent villains flying, each movement was precise and overwhelming. Shigaraki's hands shook with frustration. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Nomu was supposed to kill All Might. That student ruined everything. "We should retreat," Kurogiri advised. "We've failed. Nomu is incapacitated and All Might is here." "No, I won't accept this. All Might appeared in front of Shigaraki faster than the villain could react. "You're done." He prepared to strike, but Kurogiri intervened, opening portals that dispersed All Might's attack. In the confusion, the mist villain grabbed Shigaraki and began opening a retreat portal. "We'll be back." Shigaraki screamed as he disappeared. "This isn't over. I'll destroy everything you love." The portals closed, and the remaining conscious villains were quickly subdued by All Might and the students. Izuku finally let the 6th gate close, feeling the familiar exhaustion wash over him. Using 6 gates for an extended period was taxing even for his trained body. He sat down heavily, trying to catch his breath. All Might rushed over to him. "Young Midoriya, are you all right?" "I'm fine, All Might," Izuku said with a tired smile. "Just exhausted. I used the 6th gate. It drains stamina significantly." "The 6th? What?" All Might looked confused, but concerned. "Never mind that now. What you did was incredibly dangerous. You fought that creature alone." "Aizawa-sensei was in danger. I couldn't just watch. Besides, my master trained me for situations like this. A true hero acts when others cannot." All Might studied the young man before him, this quirkless student who had faced down a monster designed to kill the symbol of peace. He saw Guy's legacy in Izuku's determination, in his smile despite the exhaustion, in his unwavering commitment to protecting others. "Your master must have been an exceptional person," All Might said softly. "He was the greatest," Izuku replied, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "And I will honor his memory by becoming the hero he believed I could be." Paramedics and police arrived soon after, along with other pro-heroes. The injured were treated. Aizawa had several broken bones but would recover. 13 had been injured by Kurogiri but was stable. Several students had minor injuries but nothing serious. The Nomu was secured and taken for study. Scientists would later be horrified to discover it was an artificially modified human, a victim transformed into a weapon. As Class 1A gathered to be transported back to the main campus, they looked at Izuku with newfound respect and awe. He'd proven himself not just as a skilled fighter, but as a true hero who would risk everything to protect others. Kirishima approached him, his eyes shining with admiration. Midoriya, that was the manliest thing I've ever seen. You were amazing. Thank you, my friend, but I simply did what any hero would do. The power of youth guided my actions. Ochako hugged him impulsively. Thank you for protecting me, and for trusting me to help with your plan. We made a good team. Izuku blushed slightly, but smiled. We did. Your quirk was essential to defeating that creature. You should be proud. Even Bakugo approached, though he looked uncomfortable. That was impressive, he said grudgingly. But you're still annoying, but you proved something today. Quirks aren't everything. Izuku extended his fist for a fist bump. No, they're not. Hard work and determination, those are what matter. I'm glad you're starting to understand that. Bakugo stared at the extended fist, then bumped it with his own. Don't get cocky. I'm still going to surpass you. I look forward to it. As the buses carried them back to the main campus, Izuku looked out the window at the setting sun. His body ached from using the sixth gate, but his spirit soared. He'd faced his first real villain attack. He'd protected his classmates. He'd proven that a quirkless individual could stand against even the most dangerous threats. But more importantly, he'd honored Guy's memory. His master would have been proud of his actions today, the way he smiled while fighting, the way he never gave up, the way he exemplified the beautiful green beast philosophy. Master Guy, Izuku whispered, too quiet for anyone else to hear. I'm starting to understand what you meant about the flames of youth. They burn brightest when protecting those we care about. Thank you for teaching me that. The weight of Guy's nunchaku at his waist felt comforting, like his master was still with him in spirit. The USJ attack had significant consequences. The media went into a frenzy, questioning UA security and the hero's ability to protect students. The school temporarily closed for a safety review, and when it reopened, security was significantly enhanced. But for Izuku and his classmates, the most immediate consequence was the sports festival. The UA Sports Festival was a massive event, broadcasted nationally, attended by hundreds of pro heroes, and watched by millions of civilians. It was the single biggest opportunity for students to showcase their abilities and catch the attention of hero agencies for future internships. Principal Nezu had considered canceling it after the USJ attack, but ultimately decided to proceed. We will show the world that UA stands strong. We will not be cowed by villains. The sports festival will demonstrate that the next generation of heroes is ready for anything. Izuku trained harder than ever in preparation. The memories of the USJ battle had shown him that his skills were formidable, but there was always room for improvement. He couldn't open the 7th or 8th gates safely. The stamina cost was too severe, but he could refine his technique, improve his efficiency, and master the precise application of the 6 gates he could use. Every morning before dawn, he ran along the beach where Guy had trained him. Every evening after school, he practiced his techniques until his muscles burned. The weights stayed on constantly, compressing his power until the moment he would need to unleash it. His classmates also prepared intensely, each focusing on their quirks and abilities. The sports festival wasn't just about showing off. It was about proving themselves worthy of becoming heroes. On the day before the festival, Present Mike made an announcement during class. All right, listeners, tomorrow is the big day. The whole nation will be watching. Give it everything you've got and show them what Class 1A can do. That evening, Izuku stood alone at Dagoba Beach watching the sunset. He could almost feel Guy's presence, could almost hear his master's enthusiastic voice encouraging him. Tomorrow, I'll show them all, Izuku said to the wind. I'll show them what the power of youth can accomplish. I'll make you proud, Master Guy. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and reds, the colors of passion, of fire, of youth. Izuku smiled. The day of the UA Sports Festival arrived with perfect weather, clear skies, comfortable temperature, and an atmosphere electric with excitement. The stadium was packed with tens of thousands of spectators, and millions more watched from home. Class 1A gathered in the waiting room, their tension palpable. Some students bounced nervously. Others sat in focused silence. A few chatted to ease their nerves. Izuku sat calmly, his weighted gear still in place, his breathing steady. He was ready. 10 years of training had led to this moment. Todoroki approached him, his expression serious. "Midoriya, I want you to know, I'm going to win this festival. I have something to prove." Izuku looked up at him with genuine interest. "Oh, what do you need to prove?" "That I can become the #1 hero using only my ice power. I refuse to use my father's fire quirk. I refuse to become like him." Izuku stood up, meeting Todoroki's eyes. "I don't know your full story with your father, but I'll tell you this. Denying part of yourself because of someone else is not true strength. True strength comes from accepting all of who you are and using it to become the best version of yourself." "You don't understand?" "You're right. I don't understand your specific situation, but I do understand this. My master taught me that the flames of youth burn brightest when we give everything we have. If you deliberately limit yourself, you dishonor your own potential. Whatever you decide, make sure it's truly your choice, not a reaction to someone else." Todoroki stared at him, clearly processing this. Before he could respond, Present Mike's voice echoed through the speakers. "It's time. Let the UA Sports Festival begin." The students filed out into the massive stadium, and the roar of the crowd was deafening. Cameras tracked their movements as they walked into the arena, and Izuku could hear the commentators already discussing the favorites. And there's Izuku Midoriya, the Quirkless student who achieved the highest entrance exam score in UA history. After his performance at the USJ attack, where he reportedly fought off multiple villains and engaged that mysterious creature, he's definitely one to watch. The students assembled in the center of the arena, and Midnight, the R-rated hero, took the stage as the chief referee. Her costume was as revealing as always, and several students blushed furiously. "Welcome to the UA Sports Festival," Midnight announced, her voice sultry and commanding. "Before we begin the first event, we'll have the student pledge. And to deliver that pledge, the first place finisher from the entrance exam, Izuku Midoriya." Izuku walked up to the podium, feeling tens of thousands of eyes on him. He remembered Guy's words about passion and enthusiasm, about living boldly and without fear. He looked out at the crowd and smiled that brilliant Guy smile. "My fellow students," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the stadium's speakers. "Today we have the opportunity to show the world what we're capable of. Some of us have powerful quirks, some of us have support abilities, and some of us have no quirks at all. But none of that matters as much as the passion burning in our hearts." The crowd was listening intently now. "My master once told me that youth is not about age or natural talent. It's about dedication, determination, and the refusal to give up. Today, let us all demonstrate the beautiful flames of youth. Let us show that hard work and passion can overcome any obstacle. Let us prove that heroes are not born. They are made through sweat, tears, and unwavering resolve." He raised his fist triumphantly. "Give it everything you have, hold nothing back, and may the best warrior win." The stadium erupted in cheers. Even the other students, who moments ago might have been annoyed at having to compete, found themselves fired up by his passion. Bakugo grudgingly nodded. "Still annoying, but effective." Midnight smiled. "Well said. Now let's begin the first event, the obstacle race." A massive course materialized on the screens, showing a 4-kilometer track filled with various obstacles. The entire first-year class would compete simultaneously, with the top 42 students advancing to the next round. The rules are simple," Midnight explained. "Stay on the course and use your quirks however you want. The first 42 students to cross the finish line advance. Ready, set, go." The starting gate opened, and hundreds of students surged forward. The entrance was deliberately narrow, creating an immediate bottleneck where quirks and strategy would matter. Izuku hung back slightly, watching as students pushed and shoved to get through. Then he saw Todoroki move. The half-ice user froze the ground behind him, trapping dozens of students in ice. "Clever," Izuku murmured, "but predictable." He opened the first gate, mental limiters released, and his reaction time sharpened. He leaped over the frozen students, landed on the wall beside the entrance, ran along it with enhanced speed and balance, and cleared the bottleneck before most people realized what happened. And Midoriya takes an early lead. Present Mike's commentary boomed, using pure physical ability to bypass the traffic jam. The first major obstacle appeared, enormous robots, the same type from the entrance exam. They were the zero-pointers, massive and intimidating. Most students hesitated. Some began planning how to fight or evade them. Izuku didn't slow down. He opened the second gate, physical energy surging, and ran directly at the nearest robot. As it raised its massive foot to crush him, he jumped, used the foot as a stepping stone, and leaped to its knee, then its shoulder, then its head. Dynamic entry. His jumping kick struck the robot's head with tremendous force, denting the armor and disrupting its sensors. He used the impact to launch himself to the next robot, performing the same maneuver. He ran across the robots like they were stepping stones, his speed and precision allowing him to cross the obstacle in seconds, while other students were still figuring out their approach. Incredible! Midoriya is treating those massive robots like playground equipment. Present Mike shouted. Todoroki froze the robot's legs, causing them to topple and creating a path for himself and others. Bakugo used explosions to fly over them. Various students found creative ways to proceed, but Izuku maintained his lead, his training allowing him to navigate obstacles that would challenge others. The second obstacle was the fall, a massive chasm crossed by tight ropes and platforms. Students with flight-type quirks had an advantage here, but most would need to carefully balance. Izuku opened the third gate, blood flow increasing, skin flushing red, and simply ran across the tight ropes at high speed. His balance, trained through countless taijutsu exercises, was perfect. He crossed in seconds, his enhanced speed making the dangerous crossing trivial. The third obstacle was the minefield, a large area filled with mines that would explode if stepped on. The mines were designed to be non-lethal but would definitely slow anyone caught in the blast. Most students slowed down, carefully navigating around the visible mines. Izuku smiled. This was where his training truly shined. He opened the fourth gate, speed and power increasing dramatically, and used the shadow of the dancing leaf technique to move so precisely that he stepped only in the safe zones between mines. His enhanced perception let him see the subtle ground discolorations that indicated mine locations. He crossed the minefield at full sprint, his feet touching the ground in a blur of motion, each step perfectly placed. Unbelievable. Midoriya is running through the minefield without slowing down. Present Mike's voice was filled with amazement. Behind him, Todoroki and Bakugo were catching up, using ice and explosions respectively to clear paths. Other students followed, taking advantage of the cleared areas. Izuku could see the finish line ahead. The crowd was roaring. Cameras tracked his movement. He let the gates close. No need to waste stamina when he was clearly ahead, and crossed the finish line first by a significant margin. The stadium erupted in cheers. Todoroki finished second, followed by Bakugo in third. Then came a rush of other students, Kirishima, Ochako, a girl with pink skin named Mina, and others. When all 42 qualifying students had finished, Midnight announced the next event. The second round will be the cavalry battle. She explained the rules. Students would form teams of 2 to 4 people, with one person designated as the rider. Each team would have a point value based on their placement in the obstacle race, with the first place finisher, Izuku, being worth 10 million points. You have 15 minutes to form teams. Go! Izuku immediately found himself surrounded by students wanting to team up, but he also noticed that many looked nervous about the target the 10 million points would paint on any team he joined. Finally, Ochako approached. Midoriya, want to team up? I know everyone will be targeting you, but I think we can win, Izuku smiled. I would be honored to have you on my team. Your gravity manipulation will be very useful. Kirishima joined next. Count me in. I'll use my hardening to defend. The fourth member was a surprise. A girl with pink hair and various support equipment approached nervously. I'm Meihatsume from the support course. I want to show off my babies, my inventions. If you team up with me, I can provide equipment that will help us win. Izuku considered this. What kind of equipment? May's eyes lit up with manic enthusiasm as she described various gadgets: hover boots, grappling hooks, zoom lenses, and more. All right, you're in. Team, let's discuss strategy. They gathered in a huddle, and Izuku outlined his plan. Everyone will target us immediately because of the 10 million points. So, we won't run or hide. We'll meet them head on. Ochako, you'll make me weightless so I can maneuver freely. Kirishima, you'll defend against attacks with your hardening. May, your equipment will help us counter different quirks, and I'll handle the offense and point stealing. Are you all ready? His team nodded enthusiastically. Then let us show them the power of youth and teamwork. The cavalry battle began, and as predicted, every single team immediately rushed toward Izuku's team. Here they come. Kirishima shouted, "Make me weightless," Izuku commanded. Ochako touched him, and he became weightless. The other team's attempts to grab his headband passed through empty air as Izuku, no longer bound by gravity, floated above their reach. But he wasn't just avoiding, he was counterattacking. He opened the first gate and used the shadow of the dancing leaf to position himself above other teams. With precision and speed, he snatched headbands from teams that couldn't defend against his aerial assault. Team Midoriya is taking everyone's points while they can't even touch him. Present, Mike announced. Todoroki's team attempted to freeze them, but Kirishima's hardened body broke through the ice. Bakugo's team tried explosions, but Mei's support equipment included a blast shield that deflected the attacks. For the entire 15-minute battle, Izuku's team dominated. He collected headbands from multiple teams, accumulating massive points while never losing his own 10 million point headband. When the time ended, the points were calculated. First place, Team Midoriya with 12 million points. The crowd went wild. Izuku's team had not only protected their 10 million points, but had stolen points from so many other teams that they doubled their total. Izuku helped his teammates down from their formation, smiling broadly. Excellent work, everyone. Your efforts were magnificent. The flames of youth burned brightly in all of you. Ochako hugged him again, celebrating their victory. Kirishima flexed triumphantly. Even Mei was happy, having shown off her equipment to the watching pro heroes and support companies. Midnight announced that there would be a lunch break before the final event, the one-on-one tournament battles that would determine the ultimate champion. As the students dispersed to rest and eat, Izuku found himself approached by All Might, who was in his civilian form to conserve his power. "Young Midoriya," All Might said quietly, "could we speak privately for a moment?" They found a quiet hallway away from the crowds. All Might looked at Izuku with serious eyes. "I wanted to talk to you about your power. These gates you mention, they're not a quirk, are they?" "No, All Might. They're a technique my master taught me. A way to release the body's natural limiters and access greater strength. It's dangerous if not properly controlled, but with training, it allows even a quirkless person to compete with the strongest quirk users." All Might nodded slowly. "Your master must have been an incredible individual. What you've accomplished is extraordinary. I've been thinking." He paused, seeming to weigh his words. "I have a quirk called One for All. It's a quirk that can be passed from one person to another, and it stockpiles power across generations. I've been searching for a successor, someone worthy of inheriting the symbol of peace." Izuku's eyes widened. "You want to give me One for All?" "I did consider it," All Might admitted. "But watching you today, I realized something. You've already found your path to strength. You've already proven that you don't need a quirk to be a hero. Taking One for All might actually diminish what makes you special, your determination to succeed through your own efforts." Izuku smiled, feeling both honored and relieved. "Thank you, All Might. I'm deeply grateful that you considered me worthy. But you're right. My master trained me to prove that hard work beats natural talent. Accepting a quirk now would dishonor his legacy. I will become the greatest hero through the power of youth and the techniques he taught me." All Might extended his hand. "Then I look forward to watching you prove that to the world, young Midoriya. You're going to be an incredible hero." They shook hands, and Izuku felt Guy's spirit burning within him. This was the right choice. This was the path his master had laid out for him. After lunch, the students gathered for the final event, the one-on-one tournament. The matchups had been randomly determined, and the bracket was displayed on the massive screens. Izuku's first opponent would be a student from Class 1B, with a quirk that enhanced physical abilities. Not an overwhelming challenge, but enough to require taking the fight seriously. Before the matches began, Izuku sought out Todoroki, who was standing alone, looking conflicted. "Todoroki," Izuku said, approaching the dual quirk user, "I wanted to talk to you about what you said earlier. There's nothing to discuss. I'm going to win using only my ice. Even if it means not giving your best, even if it means potentially losing because you're deliberately handicapping yourself." Todoroki's expression darkened. "You don't understand. My father Endeavor, the number 2 hero, he only married my mother for her quirk. He wanted to create the perfect child to surpass All Might. I'm his masterpiece, but I refuse to use his power. I refuse to become what he wants." Izuku listened carefully, then spoke with genuine emotion. "I understand wanting to reject what someone forced upon you, but Todoroki, that fire quirk isn't your father's power. It's yours. Your mother gave it to you as much as your father did. By rejecting it completely, you're not defying him. You're letting him control you. You're letting him decide how you use your quirk." What? True rebellion isn't doing the opposite of what someone one wants. True rebellion is making your own choices independent of their influence. If you want to defy your father, use both your quirks and become a hero on your own terms. Show him that you're not his creation. You're your own person who happens to have the quirks you were born with. Izuku placed a hand on Todoroki's shoulder. "My master taught me that the flames of youth burn brightest when we accept all of who we are and use our full potential to protect others. Don't let your father's expectations dictate your limitations. Be yourself, completely and without reservation." Todoroki stared at him, emotions warring on his face. Finally, he nodded slowly. "I'll think about what you said. That's all I ask, and Todoroki, I hope we face each other in the tournament. When we do, I want to fight the real you, using everything you have. Only then will our battle have meaning." The first round of matches began. Izuku watched as his classmates fought. Ochako used clever tactics against a martial arts user, Kirishima's hardening proved effective against a blade-wielding opponent, and Bakugo dominated his match with overwhelming explosions. Then, Izuku's turn came. He walked into the arena to thunderous applause. His opponent, a muscular student from Class 1B, grinned confidently. "I've seen what you can do, Midoriya," the student said, "but my muscle enhancement quirk makes me strong enough to match you. Let's see if your training is really that special." "I appreciate your confidence," Izuku replied with a smile. "It will make this battle more exciting. Come at me with everything you have." The match began. The enhanced student charged forward, his muscles bulging with increased strength. His first punch had enough force to crater concrete. Izuku didn't use any gates. Not yet. He simply employed the basic taijutsu techniques Guy had taught him. He parried the punch with perfect form, redirected its force, and used the shadow of the dancing leaf to position himself in his opponent's blind spot. Leaf whirlwind. His spinning kick caught the student in the ribs, the impact sending him stumbling sideways. Before he could recover, Izuku followed up with a combination. Palm strike to the chest, sweeping leg kick, and a final push that sent the student tumbling out of the ring. The match was over in less than 30 seconds. Winner, Izuku Midoriya. The crowd cheered and Present Mike's commentary was enthusiastic. Midoriya absolutely dominated that match. His opponent didn't stand a chance. Izuku helped his opponent up, bowed respectfully, and returned to the contestant area. The matches continued. Some were close, hard-fought battles. Others were one-sided dominations. By the time the first round concluded, the bracket for the second round was set. Izuku would face Kirishima. His friend approached him with a determined grin. "Midoriya, I know you're way stronger than me, but I'm not going to make it easy. I'll show you how hard my hardening can really get." Izuku smiled and extended his fist. "I expect nothing less. Give me everything you have, and I'll do the same." May the best warrior win. They bumped fists, and both felt the excitement of facing a friend in honorable combat. The second round match between Izuku, and Kirishima was more competitive than Izuku's first fight. Kirishima's hardening quirk made him incredibly durable, and his determination drove him to attack relentlessly, but Izuku was simply on another level. He opened the third gate, blood flow increasing, skin flushing red, and his power increased dramatically. His strikes, which would have bounced harmlessly off Kirishima's hardened skin before, now cracked the armor-like surface. "You're incredible, Kirishima," Izuku shouted as they exchanged blows. "Your hardening is impressive, but let me show you what happens when unstoppable force meets immovable object." He used the strong fist style's principles: external damage, overwhelming power, precise strikes to weak points. Kirishima's hardening protected him from most of the damage, but the cumulative impacts slowly wore him down. Finally, Izuku saw his opening. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to position himself perfectly, then executed a modified front lotus, grabbing Kirishima, spinning rapidly, and slamming him into the ground with controlled force that wouldn't seriously injure his friend, but would definitely end the fight. Kirishima lay in the small crater, his hardening deactivated, breathing hard but smiling. "Man, you're so strong. That was amazing." "You fought magnificently," Izuku said, helping him up. "Your spirit is admirable. Keep training and you'll become an incredible hero." The crowd loved the display of sportsmanship and powerful techniques. Other matches concluded. Todoroki had advanced by freezing his opponents with overwhelming ice. Bakugo had blasted his way through with explosions. A student named Tokoyami, who had a shadow-based quirk, had shown impressive tactical ability. The semi-final matchups were set: Izuku versus Todoroki and Bakugo versus Tokoyami. Before his match with Todoroki, Izuku meditated briefly, centering himself. This would be his toughest fight yet. Todoroki's ice was powerful, his control was excellent, and if he decided to use his fire as well, the battle would be even more challenging. When both fighters entered the arena, the atmosphere was electric. This was the match everyone had been waiting for: the Quirkless Taijutsu Master versus the son of the number 2 hero. Midnight signaled the start of the match. Immediately, Todoroki launched a massive ice attack, attempting to freeze Izuku in place with overwhelming force. Izuku opened the 4th gate, speed and power increasing dramatically, and moved so fast he seemed to teleport, appearing beside Todoroki before the ice could touch him. "Too slow," he said cheerfully. His kick forced Todoroki to block with an ice shield, which shattered from the impact. Todoroki slid backward, already creating more ice. "You're fast," Todoroki acknowledged, "but can you handle this?" He unleashed wave after wave of ice, filling the entire arena with frozen structures. The temperature plummeted. Spectators shivered even in the stands, but Izuku navigated through it with ease. His training included learning to fight in all environments, in all conditions. Ice was just another obstacle to overcome. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to move through the ice maze Todoroki created, his fist shattering frozen barriers with each strike. "You're holding back," Izuku shouted as he closed the distance. "You're only using half your power. Is that really all you're willing to give?" "I don't need that power to beat you," Todoroki responded, creating another massive ice wall. Izuku's expression became serious. He opened the 5th gate, crossing the threshold, his power reaching monstrous levels. Front Lotus. He grabbed Todoroki, moved so fast the dual quirk user couldn't react, and executed the technique. They spun through the air, Todoroki wrapped in capture tape, and Izuku pile-drove him toward the ground. Todoroki released ice from his body to cushion the impact, but the force still drove him into the arena floor, creating a significant crater. Izuku landed nearby, breathing slightly harder from maintaining 5 gates, and looked at his opponent with concern and determination. "Get up, Todoroki. I know you can still fight, but stop holding back. Honor this battle by giving me everything you have." Todoroki struggled to his feet, ice crystals covering his left side. His body was shivering, overusing his ice without his fire. His fire to regulate his body temperature was causing him to freeze himself. In the stands, Endeavor, Todoroki's father, was watching intently. "Use your fire, Shoto. Stop being foolish." Todoroki's face twisted with conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to prove he didn't need his fire. Part of him recognized that Izuku was right. He was disrespecting their battle by holding back. Izuku walked closer, his 5 gates still active, his power evident in every movement. "Do you remember what I told you? That fire isn't your father's power, it's yours. Your mother gave you that quirk too. If you want to honor her, use the power she gave you to become the hero you want to be, not the one your father demands or the one you think will spite him." "My mother?" Todoroki's eyes widened as memories flooded back. His mother's kind face, her gentle words, her suffering because of Endeavor's ambitions, but also her love, her hope that he would become a hero who saves people with a smile. His left side began to heat up. Flames flickered along his arm. Endeavor stood up in the stands, his expression triumphant. Finally, yes, Shoto. But Todoroki wasn't thinking about his father. He was thinking about his mother, about Izuku's words, about his own desires. Fire erupted from his left side, beautiful and powerful. The heat melted the ice around him, and for the first time in years, Todoroki felt complete. You're right, Midoriya, he said, his voice filled with new conviction. This power is mine. Both sides are mine, and I'll use them both to become the hero I want to be. The crowd went absolutely wild. The temperature in the arena rose dramatically, melting all the ice Todoroki had created. Izuku smiled broadly. Yes, now you understand. Now we can have a real battle. Come at me with everything you have. Let the flames of youth clash with the flames of your quirk. Todoroki unleashed his full power. Ice from his right, fire from his left, creating devastating combination attacks that covered the entire arena. The raw power was incredible, surpassing anything the other first-year students had shown. But Izuku was ready. He opened the sixth gate, the Gate of View. The blue aura surrounded his body, visible energy radiating from his enhanced state. His power increased exponentially, matching Todoroki's dual quirk assault. Morning Peacock! His fists struck the air so rapidly they ignited from friction alone. Flaming projectiles hammered toward Todoroki in a devastating barrage, clashing with the dual quirk user's ice and fire. The collision created an explosion of steam and energy that shook the entire stadium. Spectators shielded their eyes from the brilliant light. The arena floor cracked and cratered from the force of their clash. When the steam cleared, both fighters were still standing, both breathing hard, both smiling. This is what I wanted, Todoroki shouted, ice and fire swirling around him. A real fight where we both give everything. Then let us finish this magnificently. Izuku responded. They charged at each other simultaneously. Todoroki unleashed his most powerful combination attack yet, ice and fire spiraling together in a devastating vortex. Izuku responded with pure taijutsu mastery. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to move through Todoroki's attack, his sixth gate allowing him to navigate the deadly combination of elements. He got inside Todoroki's guard and delivered a powerful but controlled palm strike to the chest. The impact sent Todoroki flying backward toward the edge of the ring, but the dual quirk user wasn't finished. He created an ice pillar behind himself to stop his backward momentum, then pushed off it with a fire blast, launching himself back toward Izuku. They met in the center of the arena, exchanging a final flurry of attacks. Izuku's taijutsu versus Todoroki's quirks, speed versus power, determination versus determination. The battle was magnificent, inspiring, everything a hero fight should be. Finally, after what felt like an eternity but was only a few minutes, Izuku saw his opening. Todoroki was exhausted from using both quirks at full power for the first time ever. His movements were slightly slower, his reaction time diminished. Izuku used the shadow of the dancing leaf one final time, positioned himself perfectly, and delivered a spinning kick that was powerful but controlled, enough to send Todoroki out of the ring but not to seriously injure him. Todoroki flew through the air and landed outside the boundary. Todoroki is out of bounds. Winner, Izuku Midoriya. The stadium erupted in the loudest cheers of the day. The match had been incredible, showcasing the very best of what hero students could accomplish. Izuku immediately rushed to Todoroki, who was lying on the ground, exhausted but smiling more genuinely than he had in years. Thank you, Todoroki said quietly. You helped me find myself again. You helped me understand that I can be my own hero. Izuku extended his hand. You were magnificent. That was the battle I hoped for. You have incredible potential, Todoroki. With both your quirks working together, you'll become an amazing hero. Todoroki took the offered hand and let Izuku help him up. They clasped hands firmly, mutual respect evident between them. In the stands, Todoroki's mother, who had been allowed to attend under supervision, was crying tears of joy. Her son had finally embraced both sides of himself, not out of obligation or spite, but because he chose to. Endeavor's expression was complicated. pleased that his son had used his fire but frustrated that it wasn't because of his demands. The semifinal between Bakugo and Tokoyami concluded with Bakugo winning through overwhelming force, his explosions proving too much for Tokoyami's shadow quirk to handle. This set up the final match. Izuku versus Bakugo, the rivalry that had defined much of their childhood, would finally be settled in the arena. After a short break to allow recovery, the final match was announced. Izuku and Bakugo stood on opposite sides of the arena, their eyes locked. For Bakugo, this match was everything. His pride demanded he prove himself superior. His ego couldn't accept that someone quirkless could be stronger. This was his chance to reclaim his position at the top. For Izuku, this match was about more than winning. It was about proving Guy's philosophy that hard work beats talent, that dedication overcomes natural advantages, that the flames of youth burn brighter than any quirk. Midnight raised her hand. This is the final match of the UA Sports Festival, Izuku Midoriya versus Katsuki Bakugo. Give it everything you've got. Begin. Bakugo immediately launched himself forward with explosions, his hands crackling with power. I'm going to destroy you, Midoriya! I'll prove that quirks are everything. Izuku didn't move, calmly watching Bakugo approach. Then, just as Bakugo's explosive punch was about to connect, he opened the first gate and used the shadow of the dancing leaf to vanish from Bakugo's sight. You'll have to be faster than that, Izuku said from behind him. Bakugo spun and fired another explosion, but Izuku had already moved again. This continued for several seconds, Bakugo attacking furiously while Izuku dodged effortlessly, not even using his higher gates yet. Stand still and fight, Bakugo roared in frustration. Very well, but remember, you asked for this. Izuku removed his jacket and began taking off his weighted gear. The leg guards, arm guards, and weighted vest all thudded to the ground with substantial weight. Without the weights, Izuku's speed increased dramatically. He opened the fourth gate, speed and power rising significantly, and suddenly became a blur of motion. He appeared in front of Bakugo and delivered a rapid combination: palm strike, spinning kick, elbow strike, each attack landing before Bakugo could even react. The explosive boy was driven backward, his pride taking damage along with his body. You rely too much on your quirk's power, Izuku said as he pressed his attack. You never learned proper technique, proper strategy. Against someone who has trained specifically to fight quirk users, your approach is predictable. Shut up! Bakugo unleashed a massive explosion, but Izuku simply leaped over it, using the smoke as cover to close the distance again. Leaf whirlwind. His legs became a blur, striking Bakugo multiple times with spinning kicks. Each impact drove the explosive boy backward, closer to the edge of the ring. Bakugo planted his feet and refused to be pushed out. He was breathing hard, sweat covering his face, but his eyes burned with determination. I won't lose to someone quirkless. I won't. He pulled out his ultimate move, storing sweat in his gauntlets and releasing it all at once for a massive explosion that would fill the entire arena. Izuku saw it coming and made a decision. He opened the fifth gate, crossing the threshold, his power reaching monstrous levels. If you're going to use your ultimate technique, I'll respond with mine. Front Lotus. He moved faster than Bakugo's eyes could track, grabbed him before the explosion could be released, wrapped him in capture tape, and executed the Front Lotus, spinning rapidly and pile-driving Bakugo into the ground. The impact created a massive crater in the arena floor. Bakugo's gauntlets, damaged by the force, released their stored explosions harmlessly into the air. When the dust settled, Bakugo lay at the bottom of the crater, conscious but completely defeated. His pride was shattered, but for the first time, he felt something new: respect for someone he'd always considered inferior. Izuku stood at the crater's edge, his fifth gate still active, looking down at his opponent with genuine admiration. You fought well, Bakugo. Your determination is impressive, but you need to learn that strength comes in many forms. Quirks are powerful, but they're not everything. If you can accept that and start training properly, you'll become incredibly strong. He extended his hand to help Bakugo up. For a long moment, Bakugo stared at that extended hand. His entire worldview was crumbling. Everything he'd believed about strength, about quirks, about his superiority, all of it was wrong. Finally, grudgingly, he took the hand and let Izuku pull him up. I'll get stronger, Bakugo muttered. I'll train harder, and one day I'll beat you. Izuku smiled. I look forward to that day. Competition makes us both stronger. That's the spirit of youth. Despite himself, Bakugo almost smiled. Midnight announced the result. Winner by submission, Izuku Midoriya. He is the champion of the UA Sports Festival. The crowd's roar was deafening. Fireworks exploded in the sky. Cameras captured every moment of Izuku's victory. In the contestant area, his classmates cheered wildly. Kirishima was crying manly tears. Ochako was jumping with joy. Even Todoroki was smiling. Genuinely happy for his friend, All Might, watching from the stands in his civilian form, had tears in his eyes. Young Midoriya, you've done something incredible. You've proven that heroism isn't about power, it's about spirit. For the award ceremony, All Might appeared in his hero form, smiling broadly as he placed the gold medal around Izuku's neck. Young Midoriya, All Might said loudly enough for the crowd to hear, you have shown the world what determination and hard work can accomplish. You are a true hero. Izuku stood on the first-place podium, Bakugo on the second-place podium looking frustrated but accepting, and Todoroki sharing the third-place podium with Tokoyami. As confetti rained down and the crowd cheered, Izuku looked up at the sky. He could almost see Guy there, smiling with pride, tears of joy streaming down his face. I did it, Master Guy, Izuku whispered. I proved your philosophy. I honored your legacy. The flames of youth burn brighter than any quirk. The sports festival concluded with Izuku as the undisputed champion, having defeated every opponent through pure skill, training, and determination. His performance had been broadcast to millions, and offers from hero agencies would soon be flooding in. But more importantly, he'd proven something that many had doubted. A quirkless individual could stand at the very top of hero society through dedication and hard work alone. The day after the sports festival, Class 1A gathered for their normal classes, but the atmosphere was electric. The students who had participated were celebrities now, recognized wherever they went. The festival had been a massive success, viewed by millions across the nation. Aizawa entered the classroom, looking as tired as ever, carrying a stack of papers. Good morning. Before we start regular lessons, we need to discuss your internship offers. He activated a screen showing the number of offers each student received. Izuku's number was astronomical, over 4,000 offers from hero agencies across Japan. It was more than double what the second-place student Todoroki had received. Midoriya, Aizawa said dryly, you've apparently become very popular. These agencies want to see your abilities firsthand. Choose carefully. Your internship will significantly impact your future development. The class was in awe. Even Bakugo, who had received nearly 1,000 offers himself, couldn't help but feel impressed by the number. Over the next few days, Izuku reviewed the offers carefully. Many were from major agencies in big cities. Some were from smaller agencies that specialized in rescue work. A few were from agencies focused on combat and villain apprehension. But one offer stood out, an agency in Hosu City run by a hero named Gran Torino. The offer was simple and direct. I want to see if you're as good as All Might says. Come to Hosu if you think you can handle real hero work. Izuku did research on Gran Torino. The hero was elderly, supposedly retired, but had been All Might's mentor years ago. His quirk allowed him to jet around at high speed, making him incredibly mobile in combat. Something about the direct, no-nonsense offer appealed to Izuku. This wasn't an agency trying to use his fame for publicity. This was a legendary hero wanting to test his abilities. He submitted his choice, Gran Torino's agency in Hosu City. When he told All Might about his decision, the symbol of peace looked surprised. Young Midoriya, are you sure? Gran Torino is intense. He doesn't coddle his students. He believes in trial by fire. That sounds perfect, Izuku said with a smile. My master trained me the same way. I don't want an easy internship where I'm just shown around and given simple tasks. I want to be challenged. I want to grow stronger. All Might nodded, respect evident in his eyes. Then Gran Torino is an excellent choice. He'll push you to your limits. Just be prepared. He's tougher than he looks. The week before the internship, Izuku trained harder than ever. He refined his techniques, practiced his gate control, and studied Hosu City's layout and crime statistics. The city had been experiencing an increase in villain activity recently, so he expected to see real action. On the first day of the internship, Izuku arrived at Gran Torino's agency, a small, unimpressive building in a quiet part of Hosu. He knocked on the door and entered. When a voice told him to come in, Gran Torino was a tiny old man, barely 4 feet tall, wearing a hero costume that had seen better days. He looked frail, almost comically unheroic. "So you're Midoriya," Gran Torino said, his voice gruff. "The quirkless kid who won the sports festival using some kind of special technique. All Might wouldn't shut up about you." "It's an honor to meet you, Gran Torino. I've heard you were All Might's mentor. I hope to learn a great deal from you." Gran Torino's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that. First, I want to test your abilities. Attack me." "What?" "You heard me. Attack me with everything you've got. I want to see if you're worth my time." Izuku hesitated for only a moment. This was clearly a test, and holding back would be insulting. He removed his weighted gear, letting it thud to the floor, then opened the fourth gate, speed and power increasing dramatically. He burst forward using his full speed to close the distance and executed a perfect dynamic entry aimed at where Gran Torino stood. His kick passed through empty air. Gran Torino had moved, jets of air propelling him across the room, faster than Izuku's eyes could track. The old hero appeared behind him and tapped him lightly on the head. "Too slow, boy. Again." Izuku spun and attacked again, using the leaf whirlwind technique, his legs blurring with speed. But Gran Torino dodged effortlessly, moving around the room like a pinball, his jet quirk allowing for impossible changes in direction. "You're fast," Gran Torino commented as he dodged, "but you're fighting predictably. You commit to your attacks too much. Against someone with superior mobility, that's a fatal flaw." Izuku opened the fifth gate, his power reaching monstrous levels, and increased his speed further. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to predict Gran Torino's movements, positioning himself to intercept. Finally, he managed to graze the old hero's costume with a strike. Gran Torino immediately ceased dodging and landed in front of Izuku, a small smile on his weathered face. "Better. You adapted quickly. That's good. Now let's talk about why you're really here." They sat down in the small agency office, and Gran Torino poured tea. "You've proven yourself capable in controlled environments like the sports festival, but real hero work is different. It's messy, chaotic, and unpredictable. You need to learn to apply your abilities in real-world situations where there are no rules, no points, and lives are actually at stake." "I understand. That's exactly what I want to learn." "Good. Then starting tomorrow, we'll patrol Hosu City. You'll encounter real villains, real emergencies, real problems that can't be solved by just hitting harder. Are you ready for that?" Izuku's eyes burned with determination. "Mein Schrei. I was born ready. The flames of youth will guide me to become the hero this city needs." Gran Torino sighed. "You're as enthusiastic as All Might was at your age. This is going to be a long week." Gran Torino sighed. "You're as enthusiastic as All Might was at your age. This is going to be a long week." The next morning, Izuku woke before dawn in the small room Gran Torino had provided. His body ached pleasantly from yesterday's test. The old hero had spent hours analyzing his movements, pointing out flaws in his technique that even 10 years of training hadn't eliminated. It was humbling and exhilarating in equal measure. He completed his morning routine: 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 500 squats, then a 10-kilometer run through Hosu's quiet streets. The weighted gear stayed on, as always. Citizens who were awake this early stared at the young man running past with ankle and wrist weights that would cripple ordinary people. When he returned, Gran Torino was already awake, eating a simple breakfast of rice and fish. "Ready for patrol?" the old hero asked. "Always ready. The flames of youth burn brightest when protecting others." Gran Torino winced. "Tone down the enthusiasm until after I've had coffee. Come on, we're starting in the East District. High crime rate, lots of villain activity. Perfect place for you to learn what real hero work looks like." They spent the day patrolling, and Izuku quickly realized Gran Torino was right about the difference between training and reality. At the sports festival, fights had clear boundaries, rules, and objectives. In the real world, nothing was clean. Their first incident involved a villain with a mutation quirk terrorizing a convenience store. The villain had rhinoceros features, thick skin, a horn, incredible strength. He'd already injured 2 civilians and was demanding money when Izuku and Gran Torino arrived. "I'll handle this," Izuku said, stepping forward. No gates, Gran Torino ordered. Handle it with basic techniques. You need to learn restraint. Izuku nodded and engaged the villain without opening any gates. The fight was harder than expected. The rhinoceros skin was tough enough that his normal strikes barely fazed the criminal. He had to use precise targeting, striking nerve clusters and joints instead of relying on overwhelming power. It took 3 minutes, but Izuku subdued the villain with a combination of joint locks and pressure point strikes, leaving him conscious but immobilized for the police. Better, Gran Torino said. You didn't just punch harder. You thought about the problem and adapted. That's what separates good heroes from great ones. The week continued like this. Each day brought new challenges: hostage situations, building fires, natural disasters, villain attacks. Izuku learned to assess situations quickly, to prioritize civilian safety over villain capture, to work with other heroes and emergency services. On the 4th day, everything changed. They were patrolling near the commercial district when Gran Torino's communicator crackled with an urgent message. Multiple villains had been spotted in an alley off the main street, and they matched descriptions of villains associated with the hero killer, Stain. We're responding, Gran Torino said immediately, his casual demeanor vanishing. Midoriya, this could be dangerous. Stain is a serial killer who's murdered 17 pro-heroes. If he's there, don't engage alone. They arrived at the alley to find a scene of carnage. 3 heroes were down, paralyzed by what appeared to be Stain's blood curse quirk. The hero killer himself stood over them, his blades dripping red, his wild eyes burning with fanatic conviction. More false heroes, Stain growled, his voice rasping with contempt. This society is sick. Heroes who chase fame and money instead of truly saving people. They all deserve to die. Gran Torino moved to engage, but Stain was fast, faster than his appearance suggested. He dodged the old hero's jet-propelled attack and countered with a blade aimed at his throat. Izuku reacted on instinct. He removed his weighted jacket, opened the 4th gate, and appeared between Stain and Gran Torino in a blur of motion. His hand caught Stain's wrist, stopping the blade inches from Gran Torino's neck. Your ideology is flawed, Izuku said calmly, his skin flushed red from the gate's activation. True heroes don't seek fame or money. They seek to protect others, to inspire hope, to make the world better through their actions. If you can't see that, then you're the false one. Stain's eyes widened with something like recognition. You're different. That quirkless boy from the sports festival. You fight without a quirk, relying only on your own strength and conviction. You understand what it means to truly struggle. I understand that killing is wrong, Izuku replied. Whatever your grievances with Hero Society, murder is not the answer. Stand down, or I'll be forced to stop you. Stain laughed, a harsh sound. You have conviction. That's rare, but you're still protecting these false heroes. That makes you my enemy. He moved with incredible speed, his blades flashing toward Izuku's vital points. But Izuku was faster. With the 4th gate open, his reflexes were superhuman. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to position himself in Stain's blind spot, then countered with a precise palm strike that sent the hero killer stumbling backward. Gran Torino, help the wounded heroes, Izuku called. I'll handle this. Be careful, the old hero responded, already moving to free the paralyzed heroes from Stain's quirk. Izuku focused entirely on Stain. The hero killer was skilled. His movements were economical, his blade work precise, his quirk devastating if it landed. But Izuku had trained for 10 years against an opponent even more skilled than this. He opened the 5th gate. Power surged through his body, his speed increasing exponentially. Stain's eyes couldn't track him anymore. Izuku appeared in front of him and delivered a devastating combination. Leaf whirlwind into a palm strike, into a spinning back kick that sent Stain crashing through a wall. The hero killer emerged from the rubble, bleeding but smiling with manic appreciation. Yes! This is what a real fight feels like. You're strong. You're worthy. I don't want your approval, Izuku said. I want you to stop killing people. They clashed again, and this time Izuku held nothing back. He used every technique Guy had taught him. The strong fist's devastating external damage, the precision of the gentle fist's pressure point strikes, the mobility of the 8 gates' enhanced speed. Stain managed to cut him once, drawing blood. but before he could lick it to activate his paralysis quirk, Izuku kicked the blade out of his hand and delivered a front kick to his chest that cratered the wall behind him. The hero killer slumped, defeated but conscious. "You're the real thing," he muttered. "A true hero. No quirk, just conviction." Police and paramedics arrived moments later. Stain was arrested, the wounded heroes were treated, and Izuku gave his statement to the authorities. Gran Torino pulled him aside afterward. "That was reckless. You could have been killed. But I wasn't. And those heroes are alive because we stopped him. Isn't that what matters?" The old hero studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "All Might was right about you. You have the spirit of a true hero. Just try not to die proving it." The encounter with Stain made headlines. The media focused on how a student, a quirkless student, had defeated the infamous hero killer in single combat. Izuku's internship offers would have tripled if agencies were still accepting applications, but more importantly, the fight had taught him something crucial. His training wasn't just for competitions. It was for moments like this when lives hung in the balance and only his strength stood between civilians and death. The internship week concluded with Gran Torino giving him a final assessment. "You're powerful, Midoriya. Maybe the most naturally gifted taijutsu practitioner I've ever seen. But power isn't enough. You need wisdom, experience, and the judgment to know when to hold back and when to give everything. Keep training, keep learning, and you'll become the kind of hero this world needs." Izuku bowed deeply. "Thank you for everything, Gran Torino. Your lessons will stay with me always." When he returned to UA, his classmates bombarded him with questions about fighting Stain. The story had spread quickly, and everyone wanted details. Izuku downplayed his role, emphasizing Gran Torino's guidance and the importance of protecting others. But Bakugo cornered him after class. "You fought the hero killer and won, without a quirk, without any help." Gran Torino was there. "Don't give me that modest crap. You beat him one-on-one. I saw the security footage they showed on the news." Bakugo's expression was complicated, jealousy mixed with respect. "I'm training harder. I'm not going to let you stay ahead forever." Izuku smiled. "Good. Competition makes us both stronger. That's the spirit of, if you say youth one more time, I'm going to explode something." Despite the threat, they both almost laughed. Their rivalry had evolved into something healthier, mutual respect with competitive drive. The weeks after the internships passed quickly. Classes continued, training intensified, and the students of Class 1A grew stronger. Izuku maintained his rigorous personal training regimen, pushing his body to new limits every day. Then came the announcement that would change everything. The Provisional Hero License Exam. Unlike the sports festival, which was about showcasing abilities, the license exam tested practical hero skills. Rescue operations, disaster response, villain combat, and civilian interaction. Passing meant being authorized to use quirks in public and respond to emergencies without supervision. The exam was held at a massive testing facility that simulated various urban and natural environments. Over 1,500 students from hero schools across Japan would compete, but only the first 100 to pass the initial test would advance. Aizawa addressed Class 1A before they departed. "This exam has a higher failure rate than the sports festival had eliminations. Don't get cocky, work together, think strategically, and remember that flashy quirks don't guarantee success." His eyes lingered on Izuku. "That includes you, Midoriya. Your performance at the sports festival painted a target on your back. Other schools will be gunning for you specifically." "I understand, Sensei. I'll be careful." The testing facility was enormous, a small city built specifically for hero exams. When all the students gathered in the main plaza, Izuku felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on him. He'd become famous, recognizable. Students from other schools whispered and pointed. The first test was announced, a battle royale where students would target each other with special balls. Each student had 6 targets on their body. Getting hit in 3 targets meant elimination. The first 100 students to eliminate 2 opponents would pass. "This will test your combat ability, evasion skills, and strategic thinking," the examiner explained. "Quirks are allowed, physical contact is allowed, excessive violence is not. You have 10 minutes. Begin." Chaos erupted immediately. 1,500 students attacked each other in a massive free-for-all. Quirks flashed across the simulated cityscape. Fire, ice, electricity, mutations, everything imaginable. Izuku immediately became the most popular target. Dozens of students from competing schools focused on him, recognizing him as the sports festival champion. Balls flew toward him from every direction. He opened the third gate, blood flow increasing, skin flushing red, and his perception of time seemed to slow. He could see every ball's trajectory, every attacker's position. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to weave between attacks that would have hit anyone else. "He's dodging everything," someone shouted. "Target him together." Overwhelming numbers, but numbers didn't matter against superior speed and technique. Izuku moved through the crowd like water through stones, impossible to pin down. He picked up balls that had been thrown at him and, with perfect accuracy, threw them back at targets on distant students. Within 3 minutes, he'd eliminated 5 students and qualified for the next round. He found higher ground and observed the chaos below. His classmates were holding their own. Todoroki created ice barriers for defense. Bakugo used explosions for mobility and offense. Ochako made herself weightless to evade attacks from unexpected angles. The first test concluded with exactly 100 students qualifying. Class 1A had all passed, a testament to their training and teamwork. The second test was more complex, a large-scale disaster rescue scenario. Participants would be judged on how many civilians they saved, how well they coordinated with other heroes, and how effectively they handled unexpected complications. The scenario was brutal. A simulated earthquake had collapsed multiple buildings, trapping civilians under rubble. Fires burned out of control. Gas lines had ruptured. Injured civilians needed immediate medical attention. Izuku immediately assessed the situation and opened the fourth gate. With enhanced strength and speed, he could move rubble that would require machinery for others. He coordinated with students who had suitable quirks. Those with strength enhancement helped move debris. Those with healing quirks treated injuries. Those with fire resistance fought the blazes. He found a collapsed apartment building with multiple civilians trapped inside. The structure was unstable, ready to collapse further at any moment. Other students were reluctant to enter, fearing being trapped themselves. Izuku didn't hesitate. He opened the fifth gate and entered the building, his speed allowing him to reach trapped civilians before the building could collapse. He carried them out one by one, moving so fast that the building's structural failure couldn't catch him. On his fourth trip into the building, a secondary collapse occurred. Debris rained down, blocking the exit. He was trapped inside with 2 civilians, a woman and a child actor playing injured. "Don't worry," he told them calmly. "I'll get you out safely." He opened the 6th gate. The blue aura surrounded his body, visible even through the dust and darkness. His power increased exponentially, and he literally punched through the collapsed ceiling, creating a new exit. He carried both civilians out through the hole he'd made, emerging from the rubble to stunned silence from the watching examiners. "Did he just punch through reinforced concrete?" one examiner muttered. "Without a quirk?" Another added, disbelief evident. Izuku had saved 15 civilians by the end of the test, more than any other student. His performance was so dominant that the examiners had difficulty believing he was still a first-year student. The results were announced that evening. Of the 100 students who'd advanced, only 46 passed the rescue test. Class 1A had an unprecedented success rate. All but 2 had passed. Izuku stood on the stage with the other successful students, receiving his provisional hero license. It was a small card, simple and unassuming, but it represented everything he'd worked for. He was now legally authorized to act as a hero. That night, he held the license and thought about Guy. His master had died before becoming a professional hero, but he'd embodied the hero spirit more than anyone Izuku had ever known. This license was for both of them, proof that hard work and dedication could overcome any obstacle. "I did it, Master Guy," he whispered to the empty room. "I'm officially a hero now. I'll use this license to protect people, to inspire others, to prove that quirks don't make heroes. Thank you for believing in me." The return to school should have been a celebration, but instead it marked the beginning of a darker chapter. Intelligence reports indicated that villain activity was increasing nationwide. The League of Villains, responsible for the USJ attack, had been quiet for months, but was now making moves. There were rumors of a larger organization, something called the Meta Liberation Army, spreading dangerous ideologies about quirk liberation and the overthrow of hero society. More concerning were whispers about All for One, a legendary villain thought to be dead, but apparently still active in the shadows, manipulating events through his subordinates. UA increased security measures. Pro-heroes were stationed on campus permanently. Students were advised never to travel alone. The atmosphere became tense, watchful. Then came the mission that would test everything Izuku had learned. Pro-heroes, based on intelligence from informants, had located a major villain hideout connected to the League of Villains and possibly All for One himself. The operation would involve multiple hero agencies and, controversially, would allow select students with provisional licenses to participate in support roles. Izuku was selected along with Todoroki, Bakugo, Kirishima, and a few others from Class 1A. Their role would be perimeter security and civilian evacuation if needed. The actual raid would be handled by pro-heroes. "This is extremely dangerous," Aizawa warned them. "You will follow orders exactly. You will not engage villains unless absolutely necessary. You will prioritize civilian safety above everything else. Understood?" They all nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The raid was scheduled for the following week. The target was an abandoned warehouse complex in an industrial district. Intelligence suggested it was being used as a villain operations base and possibly held kidnapped civilians. On the day of the raid, over 30 pro-heroes assembled. All Might was there in his hero form, his presence alone boosting morale. Endeavor led one strike team. Best Jeanist led another. Gran Torino had even come out of retirement for this operation. The students were positioned around the perimeter, ready to intercept any villains who tried to escape or to evacuate civilians if the fighting spread to nearby buildings. The raid began at dawn. Pro-heroes breached the warehouse simultaneously from multiple entry points, moving with practiced coordination. For the first few minutes, everything went according to plan. Then Izuku felt it. A surge of malevolent energy from inside the warehouse, an aura of power so dark and oppressive that it made his skin crawl. "Something's wrong," he muttered. Todoroki, stationed nearby, felt it too. That presence, it's like nothing I've ever encountered. Inside the warehouse, the situation had deteriorated catastrophically. The villains had been expecting the raid and had set a trap. Dozens of high-level villains emerged from hidden positions, engaging the heroes in brutal combat, and then he appeared, All for One. The legendary villain was enormous. His face was a massive scar tissue, his body radiating power that dwarfed every other person present. His quirk allowed him to steal and stockpile other quirks, making him a walking arsenal of abilities. All Might. All for One's voice boomed. "I've been waiting for this, our final confrontation." All Might stepped forward, his expression grim. "It ends today. I'll stop you once and for all." They clashed with earth-shaking force. All Might's strength met All for One's combined quirks in an exchange that shattered concrete and twisted steel. The warehouse began to collapse from the impact of their battle. Outside, Izuku watched in horror as the building disintegrated. Pro-heroes were being forced back by the overwhelming villain presence. Some were injured. Some were unconscious. The situation was spiraling out of control. "We need to help," Bakugo said, his hands crackling with explosions. "Our orders," Todoroki started. "Screw the orders," Izuku interrupted. "People are dying in there. We're heroes. We act." He removed his weighted gear, letting it thud to the ground, and opened the fifth gate. His classmates followed his lead, each activating their quirks. They charged into the collapsing warehouse. Inside was chaos. Villains and heroes fought in close quarters. Debris rained from above. Smoke obscured visibility. Izuku's enhanced perception let him navigate the madness, identifying where he was most needed. He found Best Jeanist pinned under a collapsed beam, a villain with a strength enhancement quirk standing over him, ready to deliver a killing blow. Izuku appeared in front of the villain in a blur and delivered a devastating dynamic entry that sent the criminal flying backward into a wall. "Go! Get to safety!" Izuku told Best Jeanist, helping him move the beam. "You should retreat, young man. This is beyond your level." "No one's level is beyond helping people who need it. That's what Master Guy taught me." He moved deeper into the warehouse, saving heroes and fighting villains with equal intensity. His fifth gate gave him strength comparable to top pro heroes, and his technique surpassed most of them. He was a whirlwind of controlled destruction, protecting allies and incapacitating enemies. Then he reached the center of the warehouse, where All Might and All for One were still fighting. The devastation around them was biblical. The ground had been cratered, walls had been completely destroyed, and the very air seemed to vibrate with their power. All Might was weakening. His time limit was approaching, and All for One knew it. "Your power fades, symbol of peace," All for One mocked. "Soon you'll revert to your pathetic true form, and I'll kill you in front of all these heroes. I'll destroy everything you built." "Never," All Might roared, landing another devastating punch. But it wasn't enough. All for One had too many quirks, too much power stockpiled over decades of stealing abilities from others. He was pushing All Might back, forcing him toward his limit. Izuku made a decision. He opened the sixth gate. The blue aura exploded around his body, visible even through the smoke and dust. His power increased exponentially, reaching levels that made even the pro heroes stop and stare. Young Midoriya, "No!" All Might shouted. "Get out of here! This isn't your fight! It's everyone's fight!" Izuku responded, his voice carrying the conviction that Guy had instilled in him. A true hero doesn't abandon others when they need help. Master Guy taught me that the flames of youth burn brightest when protecting what we love. "Let me help you." All for One turned his attention to Izuku, and for the first time, the villain looked genuinely interested. "The quirkless boy who won the sports festival. You've come to die alongside All Might? How touching." He launched an attack. A combination of quirks that should have obliterated Izuku instantly. Air pressure, fire, force manipulation, all combined into a devastating assault. Izuku met it head-on with Morning Peacock. His fists became a blur, striking the air so rapidly they ignited from friction. Flaming projectiles hammered into All for One's combined quirk attack, and the two forces collided in an explosion that shook the entire warehouse district. When the smoke cleared, both All for One and All Might stared at Izuku in shock. The boy, the quirkless student, had just matched an attack from the world's most dangerous villain. "Impossible," All for One muttered. "Without a quirk, such power." "Power doesn't come from quirks," Izuku shouted, his sixth gate still blazing. "It comes from dedication, from hard work, from the unwavering determination to protect others. My master proved that, and I'll prove it again." He engaged All for One directly, his speed and power enhanced by the sixth gate, allowing him to actually fight the legendary villain on relatively equal footing. Each punch created shockwaves. Each kick cratered the ground. The warehouse district became a war zone. All Might used the opportunity Izuku created to recover slightly, conserving his remaining power for a final attack. "Midoriya," All Might called. "When I give the signal, hit him with everything you have. We'll finish this together." Izuku nodded, understanding the plan instantly. He kept All for One engaged, using every technique Guy had taught him to stay alive against the villain's overwhelming quirk arsenal. Then All Might gave the signal, a subtle shift in his stance that Izuku recognized from watching recordings of his fights. "United States of Smash," All Might roared, putting everything he had left into one final, devastating punch. Simultaneously, Izuku opened the seventh gate. The Gate of Wonder. His aura changed from blue to intensely bright, his power reaching levels that defied human limitations. He positioned himself perfectly and executed his most powerful technique. "Dame Tiger." He compressed the air with a single punch so powerful it formed a visible tiger-shaped shockwave of compressed atmosphere. The technique was one of Guy's ultimate attacks, requiring immense power and perfect control. Both attacks hit All for One simultaneously. All Might's full power punch and Izuku's daytime tiger converging on the villain from different angles. The explosion was catastrophic. The entire warehouse complex was obliterated. Heroes and students were thrown back by the shockwave. Buildings a block away shattered their windows. When the dust settled, All for One lay defeated in a massive crater, unconscious and bleeding. The legendary villain had been brought down by the combined might of the symbol of peace and a quirkless student, but the victory came at a cost. All Might had used the last of his power. He reverted to his skeletal true form, collapsing from exhaustion. Izuku, having pushed himself to the seventh gate, fell to his knees as stamina drain hit him like a hammer. pro-heroes rushed forward to secure All for One and provide medical attention to the wounded. Paramedics reached All Might and Izuku within minutes. "You foolish, brave boy," All Might said weakly, a smile on his gaunt face. "You saved my life. You saved everyone here." "We saved each other," Izuku replied, his voice barely a whisper from exhaustion. That's what heroes do. The media coverage of the raid was unprecedented. The defeat of All for One, thought to be an unstoppable force, was celebrated worldwide. All Might's role was heavily publicized, but so was Izuku's. Footage from security cameras showed the quirkless student fighting the world's most dangerous villain and landing a decisive blow. Izuku became more than famous. He became a symbol himself, proof that anyone, regardless of their quirk status, could achieve greatness through determination and hard work. But the victory was bittersweet. All Might's condition was exposed to the public. The symbol of peace could no longer fight, his power completely exhausted. Hero society entered a period of uncertainty as criminals grew bolder without All Might's overwhelming presence to deter them. UA became even more vigilant. The students of Class 1A understood that they would need to become the next generation of top heroes faster than anyone had anticipated. Izuku recovered from the 7th Gate's stamina drain after several days of rest, but the experience had taught him something crucial. He was approaching the limits of what the gates could safely provide. The 7th Gate had nearly killed him from exhaustion alone. The 8th Gate, the Gate of Death, was called that for a reason. Guy had warned him years ago that opening the 8th Gate would mean death, the ultimate sacrifice, power beyond imagination, in exchange for life itself. Izuku had never seriously considered using it. Not until the day everything changed. The months following All for One's defeat were deceptively peaceful. Villain activity decreased temporarily as criminal organizations restructured without their shadowy leader. Students focused on training, improving their techniques and quirks in preparation for their second year at UA. Izuku continued his relentless training regimen, but now with added focus on stamina management and recovery techniques. The 7th Gate had shown him that raw power wasn't enough. He needed the endurance to sustain it. His classmates had grown stronger too. Bakugo had developed new explosion techniques with greater control. Todoroki had fully integrated his ice and fire sides, creating devastating combination attacks. Even students like Ochako and Kirishima, who'd started with less flashy quirks, had become formidable through constant improvement. The UA Cultural Festival came and went. A brief respite of normalcy, where students could remember they were still teenagers despite the violence they'd faced. Class 1A performed a musical performance that brought joy to an audience that desperately needed it in these uncertain times. Izuku played drums with such enthusiasm and energy that even the most serious students couldn't help but smile. For one evening, the weight of being heroes in training lifted, and they were just young people having fun. But reality returned quickly. Intelligence reports began surfacing about a new threat, the Paranormal Liberation Front. It was a merger of the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army, unified under a mysterious leader. With All for One imprisoned and All Might retired, this organization saw an opportunity to reshape society according to their vision of quirk supremacy and liberation. Worse, there were rumors that All for One had somehow escaped or was manipulating events from inside prison. Some intelligence suggested his essence or consciousness had been transferred to Tomura Shigaraki, making the already dangerous villain into something far worse. The Hero Public Safety Commission organized a massive operation, a coordinated strike against the Paranormal Liberation Front's headquarters. Every top hero would participate, and select students with provisional licenses would provide support. This was the mission that would define their generation. The briefing took place in a secure government facility. Hundreds of pro-heroes gathered, along with carefully selected students. The atmosphere was grim, professional, heavy with the understanding that this operation would determine the future of hero society. Our intelligence indicates the Paranormal Liberation Front has over 100,000 members, the Commission President explained. Their leadership includes powerful villains with dangerous quirks. Their goal is to overthrow the current hero system and create a society where quirk use is unrestricted by law. Images appeared on the screens, faces of known villains, facility layouts, Tactical assessments. We will strike simultaneously at multiple locations. The briefing continued. The main force will assault their headquarters in the mountains. Secondary teams will raid their urban bases. Students will evacuate civilians from surrounding areas and provide perimeter support. Izuku studied the intelligence carefully. The scope of this operation was enormous, far larger than the warehouse raid where they'd fought All for One. Thousands of villains would be engaged across multiple battlefields, and somewhere in that organization was the entity that would become his greatest challenge. The operation launched at dawn 3 days later. Izuku was assigned to the evacuation team working near the main battlefield. His role was to ensure civilians in nearby towns reached safety before the fighting reached them. It seemed straightforward, almost anticlimactic given his capabilities. He should have known nothing about this operation would be simple. The assault on the Paranormal Liberation Front headquarters began with overwhelming force. Pro-heroes breached the facility from multiple angles, engaging villains in coordinated strikes designed to prevent organized resistance. For the first hour, the operation went according to plan. Villains were being subdued, captured, and secured. The leadership was being pushed back into the facility's inner chambers. Then everything went wrong. A massive pulse of energy erupted from deep within the headquarters. Dark, malevolent, wrong. Izuku felt it from miles away, a sensation that made every instinct scream danger. "What was that?" Ochako asked, staring toward the mountain where the headquarters was located. Before anyone could answer, Izuku's communicator crackled with desperate voices. "All units, code red." "Repeat, code red, Shigaraki has awakened." "He's not human anymore, he's something else. Heroes down, multiple heroes down. We need backup immediately." Izuku's blood ran cold. Without hesitation, he opened the fourth gate and began running toward the battle. His classmates followed, abandoning their evacuation posts to help. As they approached the headquarters, the devastation became apparent. The facility was partially destroyed, the surrounding forest was decimated, and pro-heroes were retreating in organized groups carrying their wounded. "What happened?" Izuku demanded, finding a group of injured heroes. "Shigaraki," one hero said, his voice shaking. "He's been modified, enhanced. He's got multiple quirks now, including All for One's ability to steal quirks. He's unstoppable. He's killing heroes effortlessly." "Where's Endeavor? Where's the main strike force?" "Still fighting him, but they're losing. Nothing's working. His decay quirk spreads across entire areas now. Touch anything he's touched and you disintegrate. And he's got regeneration that heals any damage we manage to inflict." Izuku's mind raced. This was worse than All for One. This was a new generation villain with multiple quirks, enhanced physical abilities, and no hesitation about killing. He made his decision. "Everyone, get to safety. I'm going in." "Midoriya, you can't." Todoroki grabbed his arm. "If pro-heroes can't stop him, then someone else has to try." Izuku pulled free. "I didn't train my entire life to run away when people need help. Master Guy would never forgive me if I did." He removed his weighted gear, letting it thud to the ground. His classmates watched in silence as he opened the fifth gate, his skin flushing red with increased blood flow and power. "If I don't come back," he said quietly, "tell everyone I died doing what I loved, protecting people and honoring my master's legacy." Before they could respond, he burst forward with incredible speed, running toward the battle that would decide everything. The battlefield was apocalyptic. The ground had been completely decayed in massive patches, creating fields of death where anything living would disintegrate on contact. Buildings had collapsed, trees had crumbled to dust. The very earth seemed wounded. In the center of the devastation stood Tomura Shigaraki, but he looked nothing like the hand-covered villain from the USJ. He was taller, more muscular, his body enhanced with visible modifications. His white hair flowed around his face, and his eyes burned with insane power. Around him, pro-heroes fought desperate flames had no effect. Shigaraki just regenerated. Mirko, the rabbit hero, had lost an arm to his decay quirk. Edgeshot was down, barely breathing. Dozens of heroes were wounded or dead. "Is this all the heroes have to offer?" Shigaraki laughed, his voice distorted and inhuman. "Master All for One's power combined with my own. I am unstoppable. I am the new god of this world." He raised his hand and decay spread in all directions, forcing the heroes to retreat further. Izuku arrived just as Shigaraki was about to kill Endeavor with a decay-enhanced punch. He moved with the fifth gate's speed, appearing between them and catching Shigaraki's wrist inches from Endeavor's face. The moment contact was made, Izuku felt the decay quirk trying to activate. He opened the sixth gate immediately, his chakra aura exploding outward and disrupting the quirk spread just long enough for him to throw Shigaraki backward with tremendous force. You, Shigaraki recognized him instantly. The quirkless insect who ruined our USJ plan. You dare interfere again? I interfere when villains threaten innocent people, Izuku said calmly, the sixth gate's blue aura blazing around him. That's what heroes do, and I'll stop you, no matter how many quirks you've stolen. Shigaraki laughed maniacally. Stop me? You? A quirkless nobody? I have All for One's power. I have dozens of quirks. I am beyond your comprehension. He attacked with overwhelming force, combining air pressure attacks, strength enhancement, and decay in a devastating assault that would have killed anyone who couldn't dodge. But Izuku was no ordinary opponent. With the sixth gate open, his speed was superhuman. He used the shadow of the dancing leaf to stay ahead of the attacks, positioning himself perfectly. Morning Peacock? His fists ignited from friction as he struck the air in rapid succession, sending flaming projectiles towards Shigaraki. The villain used an air barrier quirk to deflect them, but the force still drove him backward. Impossible, Shigaraki snarled. You're keeping up with me. I told you, quirks don't determine strength. My master taught me that the power of youth and hard work surpass any genetic gift. Let me prove it to you. They engaged in close combat, and for the first time, Shigaraki found himself matched. Every quirk he activated, Izuku had a counter. Decay? Don't let him touch you and attack from a distance. Air pressure? Redirect it with superior technique. Regeneration? Hit him harder than he can heal. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Shigaraki's frustration grew with every failed attempt to kill this quirkless student who shouldn't have been able to touch him. But Izuku could feel his stamina draining. The sixth gate was powerful, but maintaining it for extended combat was exhausting. Worse, he could see that Shigaraki's regeneration was slowly adapting, healing faster each time he was injured. Then Shigaraki activated a quirk he'd stolen recently, a power multiplier that doubled his strength and speed for a short time. He became blindingly fast, and his next attack caught Izuku off guard. A decay-enhanced punch hit Izuku's shoulder. He felt the quirk activate, his skin beginning to crack and crumble. He immediately used the sixth gate's power to superheat his blood around the affected area, burning away the decaying tissue before it could spread. A desperate technique that hurt immensely, but saved his life. He stumbled back, bleeding from the self-inflicted wound, his left arm partially disabled. Shigaraki grinned, sensing victory. You're strong, I'll admit, stronger than any quirkless person should be, but you're still human, still limited by your weak body. I, however, have transcended humanity. I am the new All for One. I am... A massive ice wall erupted between them. Todoroki had arrived with reinforcements. Bakugo, Kirishima, and others from Class 1A. We're not letting you fight alone, Todoroki shouted. Get out of here, Izuku yelled back. He'll kill you. Then we die together. Bakugo fired a massive explosion. That's what you're always preaching, isn't it? Heroes protect each other. Shigaraki shattered the ice wall with casual ease and laughed. More insects to crush! How delightful! He launched attacks in all directions, decay spreading across the ground, air pressure blasts, and stolen quirks activating simultaneously. The students fought desperately, working together to survive against this overwhelming threat. Bakugo used explosions to propel himself around decay zones. Todoroki created ice barriers to block attacks while countering with fire. Kirishima hardened his body to withstand the air pressure. Ochako made debris weightless and threw it at Shigaraki to disrupt his attacks, but it wasn't enough. Shigaraki was too powerful, too fast, too durable. He was picking them off one by one. Kirishima's hardening couldn't stop decay. He was hit and began disintegrating before Izuku grabbed him and burned away the affected tissue with superheated chakra. This couldn't continue. They were all going to die. Unless... Izuku looked at his classmates. These friends who'd become like family. These people who believed in him, who'd followed him into hell because they trusted him to lead them. He thought about Guy, about the sacrifice his master had been willing to make to protect his students. He thought about what it truly meant to be a hero. He opened the seventh gate, the gate of wonder. His aura intensified from blue to blinding white blue, his power reaching levels that made Shigaraki actually pause in surprise. The very air around Izuku distorted from the pressure of his enhanced state. "Everyone, fall back," Izuku commanded. "Get to safety, I'll handle this." "Midoriya, you can't," Todoroki started. "Go, trust me, please." They retreated reluctantly, and Izuku faced Shigaraki alone with the seventh gate blazing. "Impressive," Shigaraki admitted. "You're actually making me feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Excitement. Show me your full power, quirkless hero." Izuku obliged. Daytime Tiger. He compressed the air with a devastating punch, creating the tiger-shaped shockwave that roared toward Shigaraki with apocalyptic force. The villain used multiple defensive quirks simultaneously: air barriers, force redirection, impact absorption. But the technique still hit with enough power to crater the ground beneath him and send him flying backward. When Shigaraki stood up, he was actually bleeding. His regeneration was working, but slowly. "That hurt," he said, sounding delighted. "You actually hurt me. Fight me seriously. Give me everything you have." They clashed with earth-shaking force. Izuku used every technique Guy had taught him, enhanced by the seventh gate's power. Each punch created shockwaves. Each kick generated explosive force. The battlefield became a war zone of craters and destroyed terrain, but Shigaraki adapted. His stolen quirks gave him versatility that pure technique couldn't fully counter, and his power multiplier quirk activated again, doubling his already enhanced capabilities. Izuku was pushed back, his seventh gate stamina draining rapidly. He could feel exhaustion creeping in, his body protesting the immense strain. He'd never maintained the seventh gate this long before. Shigaraki sensed the weakness. "You're reaching your limit. Just give up and die. Your quirkless body can't match my enhanced form." He was right. The seventh gate wasn't enough. Shigaraki was too strong, too durable, too versatile with his stolen quirks, which meant there was only one option left. Izuku thought about Guy's final battle, how his master had opened the eighth gate to protect his students from a threat they couldn't otherwise defeat. He thought about the promise he'd made at Guy's grave to honor his legacy. He thought about his classmates watching from a distance, about the pro-heroes who'd been wounded fighting this monster, about all the people who would die if Shigaraki wasn't stopped here and now. He thought about his mother who'd supported him despite having no quirk, about All Might who'd seen potential in a quirkless boy, about everyone who'd believed in him when the world said he couldn't be a hero, and he made his choice. "Todoroki," he shouted toward his friends. "Get everyone as far away as possible. At least 2 kilometers. Go now." "What are you?" "Just do it, please." Something in his voice made them obey. They began running, evacuating all nearby heroes and civilians, spreading the word to clear the area. Shigaraki watched with amusement. "Planning something desperate? It won't matter. Nothing you do can. Release." Izuku opened the eighth gate, the gate of death. The transformation was immediate and terrifying. His chakra aura exploded outward in a crimson-red mist that evaporated the air around him. His blood literally began to boil and evaporate from his skin, creating the characteristic red steam that marked the eighth gate's activation. His power increased exponentially, not just doubling or tripling, but increasing 10-fold, 20-fold to levels that defied human comprehension. The ground beneath his feet cratered from the sheer pressure of his chakra. The air distorted in waves around him. His eyes, usually warm and determined, now burned with an intensity that seemed to pierce reality itself. Shigaraki's amusement died immediately, replaced by something the villain hadn't felt in years: fear. What is this power?" Shigaraki stammered. "It's impossible. You have no quirk, this level of energy." Izuku's voice was calm, almost serene, despite the godlike power radiating from his body. "This is the eighth gate, the gate of death. It's called that because open it means death. The body can't survive the strain. But in exchange, it grants power beyond anything you can imagine. My master opened this gate to protect his students. Now I open it to protect everyone you threaten." Memories flooded through his mind in crystalline clarity. Guy teaching him his first taijutsu forms, training together under the summer sun, Guy's encouragement when Izuku wanted to quit, his master's final battle, opening this same gate to protect others. "I'm sorry, Master Guy," Izuku whispered. "I know you wanted me to live a long life, to become a great hero through hard work without sacrificing myself. But you also taught me that heroes don't run when others need protection. You showed me that true strength means giving everything to save people, even if it costs us everything." Tears mixed with the blood evaporating from his skin. "Thank you for everything. I'll make you proud with this final battle." He looked at Shigaraki, who was backing away despite his enhanced form. "You wanted my full power? Let me show you the culmination of 10 years of training. Let me show you what a quirkless person can achieve. Let me show you the ultimate expression of youth and hard work." Izuku moved. To Shigaraki, it looked like Izuku simply vanished. One moment he was standing 50 meters away, the next he was directly in front of the villain, his fist already in motion. The punch hit with enough force to bend space itself. The shockwave obliterated everything within 100 meters. Trees, rocks. The ground itself disintegrated from the impact. Shigaraki was sent flying backward faster than sound, his body tumbling through the air for over a kilometer before he crashed into a mountain, the impact creating a crater visible from space. Izuku appeared above him before he could recover, his speed defying physics. His attacks came in a blur, punches and kicks that each hit with megaton force, creating explosions and shockwaves that reshaped the landscape. Shigaraki tried to regenerate, but Izuku was hitting him faster than his quirk could heal. He tried to use decay, but couldn't touch what he couldn't see. He activated every defensive quirk he possessed, and Izuku shattered through them with raw power that made quirks irrelevant. "This is impossible," Shigaraki screamed, genuine terror in his voice for the first time. "You're quirkless. You shouldn't have this power. It's against nature." "Nature doesn't determine destiny," Izuku roared, his fist connecting with Shigaraki's face and cratering the mountain behind him. "Hard work does. Determination does. The human spirit does. My master proved that, and now I'm proving it again." He grabbed Shigaraki and used the shadow of the dancing leaf at speeds that made them both blur into invisibility. They were everywhere and nowhere, Izuku's enhanced state letting him move and strike from impossible angles. Then, Izuku executed the technique he'd been building toward, the ultimate expression of the Eighth Gate's power. Evening Elephant. He compressed the air with 5 consecutive punches, each one faster and more powerful than the last. 5 massive air cannons shaped like elephant heads formed and launched toward Shigaraki in rapid succession. Each one hit with the force of a nuclear explosion, the combined impact creating a blast that could be seen from neighboring cities. The earth shook. The sky darkened from displaced atmosphere. The mountain range where they fought was literally reshaped by the technique's power. When the dust settled, Shigaraki lay in a crater so deep it had exposed underground aquifers. His body was broken beyond recognition, his regeneration overwhelmed, his stolen quirks failing to activate, but he was still breathing, still conscious. His eyes, filled with madness and hatred, stared up at Izuku. "Not enough." Shigaraki gasped, his body beginning to regenerate again, slower but still healing. "All for One's essence within me. I cannot be killed." Izuku landed beside the crater, his 8th gate still blazing. He could feel his body starting to fail. The red mist was his blood evaporating. His muscles were tearing apart from the strain. His bones were cracking from the pressure. He had minutes left, maybe less, but he still had one technique remaining. The ultimate attack. The technique that Guy had used in his final battle. He looked at his hands, at the red mist rising from them. He thought about his mother, who would cry when she heard what happened, about his classmates, who'd looked up to him, about All Might, who'd believed in him, about everyone he'd inspired by proving a quirkless person could be a hero, and he thought about Guy, waiting for him in the afterlife, ready to welcome his student home. "Master Guy," Izuku said quietly, "I'm ready to join you now. Thank you for teaching me what it truly means to be a hero. Watch me as I finish this with your ultimate technique." He positioned himself above the crater, his body blazing with 8th Gate power. He began concentrating every remaining ounce of energy into his right leg, compressing power beyond imagination into a single devastating attack. Shigaraki, sensing what was coming, tried to escape. He activated every movement quirk he had, every defensive ability, every survival instinct. But his broken body couldn't move fast enough. Izuku launched himself forward with a flying kick that distorted space itself. Night Guy! The technique was named for the darkness that would follow the death of the user. As Izuku's kick descended toward Shigaraki, it bent the very fabric of reality around it. Space warped, gravity distorted. The air itself seemed to crack like glass, the kick connected. The impact was beyond description. It wasn't an explosion, it was the very concept of force made manifest. The crater became a canyon. The mountain range was bisected. The shockwave was felt hundreds of kilometers away. Seismographs recorded it as an earthquake. And at the center of it all, Tamura Shigaraki, the enhanced villain with dozens of quirks and all for one's essence within him, was utterly, completely, absolutely destroyed. Not defeated. Destroyed. His body disintegrated at the molecular level. His quirks failed simultaneously. All for one's essence was burned away by the sheer force of Izuku's attack. Nothing remained but ash scattered across the devastated landscape. The threat was ended. Hero Society was saved. Izuku landed on the edge of the massive canyon his attack had created. The eighth gate's red mist was fading as his body shut down. He couldn't feel his legs anymore. His vision was darkening. His heart was slowing. He looked up at the sky. It was beautiful, clear blue with white clouds drifting peacefully. A perfect day. I did it, Master Guy, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I protected everyone. I proved that hard work beats talent. I honored your legacy. I became the hero you believed I could be. He felt something wet on his cheeks and realized he was crying, not from pain, but from completion. His journey was over, his purpose fulfilled. Thank you, he said to the sky, to Guy, to everyone who'd supported him. Thank you for everything. His vision faded to black, and Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless hero who'd surpassed everyone through sheer determination, fell backward, his body finally giving out. But he fell with a smile on his face. The first to reach him was Todoroki, who'd run back the moment the fighting stopped. He found Izuku lying peacefully at the canyon's edge, blood evaporating from his skin, his body broken beyond anything medical science could repair. Midoriya, Todoroki shouted, dropping to his knees beside his friend. Midoriya, hold on, we'll get help. Izuku's eyes opened slightly, unfocused but peaceful. Did I get him? You got him. He's gone. Completely destroyed. You saved everyone. Good. That's good. Izuku's smile widened slightly. Tell everyone. Tell them I'm sorry for worrying them. Tell my mother I love her. Tell All Might I proved a quirkless person could be the greatest hero. Don't talk like that. You're gonna be fine. The medics are coming. But they both knew the truth. The eighth gate was called the Gate of Death for a reason. No one survived it, not even Guy, who'd only lived because of Naruto's divine intervention. Something this world didn't have, more people arrived. Bakugo, who punched the ground in frustration, tears streaming down his face. Ochako, who was sobbing openly. Kirishima, crying but calling it manly. Aizawa, his usual stoic expression cracking with grief. All Might arrived in his skeletal form, having pushed himself to run despite his weakened state. He knelt beside Izuku and took his hand. Young Midoriya, All Might said, his voice breaking. You did it. You became the greatest hero I've ever known. You surpassed me. You surpassed everyone. Thank you for believing in me, Izuku whispered. I'm just so tired now. I think I'll rest for a bit. No, stay awake, Bakugo shouted. You don't get to die, you idiot. You promised to keep competing with me. You promised. Sorry, Bakugo. Keep getting stronger. Show everyone that hard work matters. His breathing was slowing, his heart was struggling, but his smile never faded. He looked at the sky one more time and saw something the others couldn't. A figure standing nearby, visible only to him. A man with a brilliant smile, wearing a green jumpsuit, giving him a thumbs up with tears of pride streaming down his face. Guy. Master, Izuku whispered. I'm ready to come home now. Guy nodded, his smile widening. You did beautifully, my student. I'm so proud of you. Come on, let's go together. Izuku's eyes cleacefully. His breathing stopped. His heart gave its final beat. Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless hero who'd proven that determination and hard work could surpass any quirk, passed away at the age of 16 and, having saved the world from a threat no one else could defeat. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the wind seemed to stop out of respect. Then Bakugo screamed, a sound of pure anguish and rage and grief. Others joined him, crying openly, mourning the loss of a friend, a classmate, a hero who'd inspired them all. All Might bowed his head, tears falling on Izuku's still form. Thank you, young Midoriya. Thank you for showing us what a true hero looks like. The medical team arrived and confirmed what everyone already knew. Izuku Midoriya was gone, but his legacy had just begun. The funeral was held a week later, and it was the largest in Japan's history. Hundreds of thousands attended. Pro-heroes, students, civilians, people who'd never met Izuku but had been inspired by his story. The ceremony was broadcast worldwide, viewed by hundreds of millions. His mother, Inko Midoriya, stood at the front, wearing traditional mourning clothes. She was crying but smiling through her tears. "My son was always so determined," she said during her eulogy. "Even when doctors told him he couldn't be a hero without a quirk, he never gave up. He found another way. He proved everyone wrong. And he died saving the world. I couldn't be more proud of him." All Might spoke next, struggling to maintain his composure. "Izuku Midoriya was the greatest hero I ever knew. Not because of his power, though his strength was legendary, but because of his heart. He embodied everything a hero should be: selfless, determined, brave, beyond measure. He taught me that being the symbol of peace isn't about being the strongest. It's about inspiring others to be their best. He will never be forgotten." Class 1A attended together, all wearing black, all trying to hold back tears with varying success. They'd lost a friend, a leader, the person who'd shown them what it meant to be a true hero. Bakugo approached the casket last, alone. He stood there for a long moment, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. "You were right, Deku," he said quietly, using the old nickname for the first time in years. "Hard work does beat talent. You proved it. You proved everything." He wiped his eyes roughly. "I'll get stronger. I'll become the best hero I can be. I'll make sure your sacrifice wasn't wasted. I promise." He placed a single flower on the casket, the same type that had grown near the beach where Izuku had trained with Guy. The casket was lowered into the ground next to another grave. Might Guy's, marked with a simple stone that read, "The beautiful green beast of Musutafu." Student and master, together in death as they had been in life. In the months and years that followed, Izuku's impact on society became clear. Enrollment in hero schools skyrocketed, especially among quirkless and weak-quirked individuals. If Izuku could become the greatest hero without a quirk, then anyone could achieve their dreams through hard work. Discrimination against the quirkless nearly vanished. How could anyone look down on people without quirks when one had literally saved the world? Training methods changed across all hero schools. Physical conditioning and martial arts became as important as quirk training. Students were taught that quirks were tools, not destiny. A new award was created, the Midoriya Medal, given annually to the hero who best exemplified courage, determination, and selfless service. It became the most prestigious honor in hero society. Statues of Izuku were erected across Japan. The most famous stood in Musutafu, showing him in his 8th gate form, red mist swirling around him, his fist raised toward the sky. The inscription read, "Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless hero who proved anything is possible." His story was taught in schools, not just hero schools, but regular schools too. Children learned about the boy who'd overcome every obstacle through determination and hard work. His famous quote, "Power doesn't come from quirks, it comes from dedication," became a national motto. Class 1A graduated and became pro-heroes, each one carrying Izuku's legacy in their own way. Bakugo became the number 2 hero, known for his explosive power and relentless drive. He never forgot the promise he'd made at Izuku's grave and pushed himself harder than anyone, always asking, what would Midoriya do? Todoroki became the number 3 hero, using both his ice and fire without hesitation. Having learned from Izuku that accepting all of yourself is the path to true strength, Ochako became a top rescue hero, her gravity manipulation saving countless lives. She named her agency Uravity, a combination of gravity and bravery, qualities she'd learned from Izuku. Even smaller heroes thrived. Kirishima, Tsuyu, Tokoyami all became successful, all credited Izuku with teaching them what it meant to be a hero. 5 years after Izuku's death, All Might stood at his grave on the anniversary of his passing. The ceremony had just concluded, and now the former symbol of peace was alone with his thoughts. Young Midoriya. All Might said quietly, "I came to tell you something. The world has changed because of you. Crime rates are at historic lows. People have hope again. Your classmates have become amazing heroes. And most importantly, quirkless children now grow up believing they can achieve anything. You gave them that gift." He placed flowers on both Izuku's grave and Guy's. You and your master changed the world. Not with quirks, not with power, but with the unshakable belief that hard work and determination matter more than natural talent. That legacy will endure forever. As All Might turned to leave, he swore he heard it. Faint but unmistakable. The sound of enthusiastic laughter. The kind that could only come from two people who'd lived with absolute passion. He smiled. Rest well, young heroes. You've earned it. Epilogue. Somewhere beyond mortal perception, in a place where the worthy rest after their struggles, Izuku sat with Guy by a peaceful river, watching the water flow. "I'm sorry it ended that way, Master Guy," Izuku said. "I know you wanted me to live a full life." Guy's smile was as brilliant as ever. "Are you kidding? You lived the fullest life possible. You became an incredible hero. You saved the world. You proved everything we believed in." He wiped tears from his eyes. "I couldn't be more proud if you'd lived to be 100. Thank you for everything. For training me, for believing in me, for showing me what it means to have the flames of youth. Thank you for being my student, for honoring my legacy, for proving that our philosophy wasn't just foolish idealism, but actual truth." Guy put his arm around Izuku's shoulders. "You know what the best part is? We get to watch them from here." "Watch who?" "Everyone we inspired. All those kids learning taijutsu now, training their bodies, working hard because you showed them it matters. We get to watch our legacy continue." Izuku smiled, that same bright smile he'd inherited from his master. "Then the flames of youth will never die." "Never," Guy agreed enthusiastically. "They'll burn forever in every person who chooses hard work over shortcuts, dedication over talent, passion over apathy." They sat together, teacher and student, watching the world they'd changed and the people they'd inspired, content in the knowledge that their sacrifices had mattered. The flames of youth would indeed burn forever, in the hearts of heroes who trained their bodies beyond limits, in the spirits of those who refused to give up despite overwhelming odds, in the souls of everyone who chose to work harder instead of accepting limitations. Izuku Midoriya had died at 16, but his legacy would live eternally. And somewhere in Musutafu, a quirkless child saw the statue of Izuku in his 8th gate form and felt something ignite within their heart. Hope, determination, the belief that maybe, just maybe, they too could become a hero through hard work alone. The flames of youth spread to another generation, and in that place beyond, Guy and Izuku smiled. The end.
And now, it's time for our Patreon shout-out. For our pro-hero tier, the rising stars lighting the path of justice, Ancient Chant, and Javon McQuire. Symbol of peace tier holding the line, the pillars who keep this world standing. Agroxa 298, Suna Win 631, Elijah Saunders, Ab, Peter Hamilton, Freddy_Rose, Omega, Toxic Rune, Akuma no Akami, Chris Talley, Alexander Thompson, Remorsefuls, Black Vein, Nicholas Barnes, Joshua Headington, Aaron Abercrombie, Drift_SKERER, Corey Tokars, Jan, Zero Hope 3656, Devon Black, Crow, YSBRYD, Roberto Ramos Di Cristina, Dasher Games, Ray Von Crimson River, Dante Alastor, Adam Yonkers, Blood Saints, Donna Cafe, Zeph, KC, Howie 60, Ignacio, Albert,
Carlos Terry, Rafael Terran.
Hope of the universe tier. The ones who rise beyond limits, who push the channel to greater heights. The beacons who shine across all realms. Maderame, Marl, Spintown, Jaden Garrett, Greg Green, James, Q Wonyen Thompson, Juan, Culver, Colsey. The battlefield has cleared, but the what-ifs remain. What other powers could Deku have wielded? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more and join the conversation in the comments below to let us know what you think would have happened if Deku had the 8 gates.